Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M926, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
In the past, to describe this, and you know that, right, Righteous? You found that in your Bible, not Bible.
Well, it was in a
say,
dictionary definition, actually.
yes,
Not
but
necessarily.
yeah, but in your what's the Bible thing you use on your computer called?
The eSword app.
In your eSword, right? It linked ether with something heavenly, right?
I forget now. Wasn't that in the dictionary definition though, like Strong's definition, or?
Oh yeah, but I'm saying it's a word that was used and it's interchangeable with firmament and heaven and the sky.
I don't know about that. You're gonna have to show me. We're gonna have to
No,
look
I
over that stuff.
I thought you and I looked at that before. Oh, you
We
wouldn't
looked
have
at it briefly, but
I would have been really.
I'm saying, I thought from what I recall, I thought it was just what somebody said in the definition, what they thought the definition of a word meant. I could be mistaken, but that's why I said show me again. Right?
Oh no, I'm not. I don't have my. I'm not at my computer now. I'm just on the roof down at the market.
If
you have it there, if you go into
no, because I gotta go soon. If you want to talk about this, maybe we could talk about this another time. But I gotta go soon,
okay.
and I want to just give a sound test with Nathan before I go again. Okay?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize anybody else was here. Okay, I'm gone then.
Well, I just wanna sort this out before I go with Nathan quick. Nathan, could you give me a mic check?
Check.
Yeah. Yesterday I noticed there was still a little bit of a sound issue, like when Brian was talking. So it seems like I'm not sure if it's still something going on, but I didn't want to disrupt the conversation yesterday, so we can always do these sound checks in the early morning. Tomorrow you're going to politics, so I was wondering. I just wanted to double check. You got everything turned, like you got for sure Chris turned off, because it sounds like it sounded like that Chris thing was on, but you for sure turned it off, right? Chris audio noise suppression.
Fucking thing. Jeez.
Pardon?
I was going to ask you a question, and I ran over a baby duck. So.
Oh, how delightful!
I can't do that. Fucking do that.
I can't quite make out what you're saying, but it sounds like you're swearing. Please don't if you are.
Yeah, no, I said I was going to ask you a question, and then I went, oh shit, because I ran over a baby duck. Yeah. I don't know if you could hear that.
Yes.
Well, duck is better than you know what.
Well, go on then. What did you want to ask?
I mean, at least it wasn't a puppy, I guess.
We could discuss this. I mean, this is almost as good. What did you want to ask?
Oh, I was going to ask, have you ever, you know, I don't know, maybe ventured or been curious, what's the mechanism for perspective, right? So like perspective is not in the eyeball, like the camera mimics the same thing where things ramp up from the, from the bottom and then from the top. Like what's the mechanism that does this? It's kind of
Angles.
insane. Yeah, just
Angles,
the angles.
basically. Just angular resolution. So that's dependent on a few different things. More importantly than anything is the lens. So you can calculate the point that you'll be unable to resolve an image with the Rayleigh criterion. But that's all you're really talking about, angle relationships. So I was lucky enough to have one of my, he's still a Patreon actually, Life is Short, go through how basically our perspective works, how our eyes work, how lenses work, specifically with relation to how the deck is involved. So the deck is the biggest limitation to our view. If we're close to the deck, that limits your angle from the horizontal down. Yeah? So if you're looking at something in the sky, you've got an almost infinite angle to it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But
Just
you
the
haven't
angle.
if you're
I mean,
looking
that's not,
if you're looking across the deck. So that's specifically what he focused on. But with other comparisons to make it more obvious that it's not just the deck, it's just a limitation to your view. So if it was the ceiling, the same thing would happen. You know, if you raise up towards a ceiling, then instead of the limitation being from horizontal down, it's from horizontal up. But you still get the exact same effects, things disappearing from top first, if you will, when you're raising a camera against the ceiling. So all of the effects can easily be broken down and described, and Life is Short did a really good job of it. I mean,
life is short. Yeah,
Life
that's the
is
baby
short,
duck.
right? But with all due respect to Life is Short, and I'm incredibly grateful that he gave me this understanding. It's like most things, you need the understanding to be able to debate it, but to have a good grasp on the subject itself or an understanding that Earth is flat, you actually don't, because there's nothing we're necessarily using that involves perspective to make a positive claim. So the reason we understand perspective, or the reason we studied it, is because they're using perspective as part of their claim when they say we've got Earth curve. Hence, we end up studying the not the antithesis. I don't know what the right word is, but becoming more knowledgeable about what in actuality is their claim. What have they utilized, or what have they hijacked to make an inference that we have an Earth curve? Well, that is perspective. But upon learning it and figuring out what Earth curve isn't, you don't actually have any use for it. I mean, you might put it into practical application. You might get a job dealing with lenses or something like that. But I'm saying, for us as flat earthers, there isn't actually any practical use for knowing this. It's just a folly. Once you undo the positive assertion that there is an Earth curve edge after hijacking perspective, so it's worth learning, but it kind of isn't after you know why the horizon is an Earth curve, if you know what I mean. Why would you then want to know about it? Beyond being a folly, I mean, what use does it serve for you as a flat earther is what I'm asking.
Yeah, unknown. It's just kind of strange. I look at pictures of us at the beach or whatever, and you got the horizon up in the air, like at behind our heads. It's just kind of amazing.
Yeah, but that's all the
You know,
horizon is. It's an optical dissolution point. It's the point of non-resolvable information for your eyeball. That's what you perceive to be the horizon.
Years and years ago, Nathan, when you used to say about a standard non-projection holographic hyena, but whatever you say, when you said the hyena thing, I spent months and months trying to figure out what you meant by that, and then later on you explained the reason why you said hyena.
Yeah, it's Tim Osman at the Salt Flats. There were some hyenas that shouldn't have been there in his Earth curve mathematic assumption and claim. There's suddenly these hyenas that are clearly visible in the picture, and the joke became, what are they? Looming hyenas. So then what we were calling the calculator at the time slightly looming non-standard refraction holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified physical geometric sphere edge, now debunked in 2020, became the slightly looming non-standard refraction holographic hyena. Because why not? It's a bad form. It's an in-joke, but there we go.
Yeah, I kept looking up. What does he mean by hyena? Because I thought it might have been like a geometric term for something.
No,
So,
no,
but you
literally
explained the
hyenas.
reason a
Hyenas
few
on the
months
salt
down the
flats.
line.
Yeah.
I was typing hyena projection. I tried to misspell hyena and stuff like that.
Oh, to see if it was actually just a term that sounds like the animal but is actually spelt differently and means something else to do with diffraction or something. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Kept typing all sorts of things. What does he mean, hyena? Figured it out at the end.
Yeah, that was right on the cusp of us relinquishing all debate about the Earth curve calculator. You know, we'd absolutely trounced it, and then in fairly standard form now, he's got kind of a habit, if you will, Tim Osman, that is, of coming in after we've smashed an argument into the middle of next week and then taking the audience through the motions of seeing how their argument fails with him, a fairly clued up debater from his own rhetoric or rhetorical point of view, hearing how that stacks up after it's all kind of been done and dusted. So we did that with the Black Swan, the conclusion being from him, quote, nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve. In this case, he left after telling us how the flat plane blocks the view in the distance, right, which is kind of what we're discussing here when we talk about perspective. But that's how the maths works. So he's detailing back to us how the maths actually does work with a flat plane blocking your view in the distance.
You know, he still stands by that, right?
You can, that's how the maths
The
works.
horizon's not Earth curve.
Well, you'd have to, because that's how the maths functions. You need a flat plane. You're using that flat plane of reference to describe how things in the distance occur, and then by geometric extrapolation, you can describe them as a point below surface level, inferred to be the horizon or Earth curve. Well, what are you actually doing? You're taking the flat plane of reference that you see and saying that that flat plane of reference that you measure is the reason for obstruction in the distance. And then by geometric extrapolation, you can say that that obstruction that you've utilized a flat plane to infer by measurement is actually below the flat plane that you just measured, and therefore Earth curve. I mean, it's semi-clever. It's just a re-engineering of what mariners used to use back in the 1800s anyway, if they were using the horizon and wanted to get a better idea of where that point in the distance would be.
Yeah, Timmy claiming that and then bringing pictures with it. I don't know. It's very strange.
It's a bit of a one-trick pony. He's come in with the same evidence for about the last 5 years.
Does he say he lived by the salt flats?
I don't know.
That's it. There's something under. Why is what was he saying was underwater?
I don't know. Buildings?
Yeah, that's his. Yeah, something like that. That's his proofsy right there. That Earth is curved. Because he even said, "I have pictures proving a sphere."
Yeah, same pictures he's been presenting for quite some time, and they've been used as an example within multiple arguments that we've had over the years. So at least he consistently brings the same standard of evidence for us to pull apart within the confines of whatever argument we're having, be it Black Swan or celestial navigation or elevation angle measurements for R values, Earth curve calculations, whatever it is he brings them up with. We use whatever the current argument is to smash him into the middle of our next week, and then he comes back a year later or 2 years later.
Yeah, but isn't that affirming the consequent? Isn't that like he's putting himself on a sphere and saying that this can only happen if Earth is a sphere?
Yeah, most of their arguments are affirming the consequent.
Yeah, that's what my son constantly does too, with the 2 points in the sky. And, like he admitted to, yes, I admitted it's all measured off flat, but then you have the other half of the sphere, and he thinks it's underneath you.
Yeah, you can map it all out flat and then sandwich one of the two maps antipodal from the other to map out the stars in a sphere shape around antipodal flat maps. That is actually their globe model. They just don't know it. John's been pointing that out recently. I find it hilarious. Especially his first gambit into this was to point out that the eclipse they claim the flat earthers should be standing by with the pizza pie straight line through the moon as an eclipse. It's like, well, actually, that's how your model would infer the world works, because you're deriving flat plane measurements for the latitude system and then putting that into a sphere-shaped model through conversion. But the actual measured surfaces that you're implying cause the eclipse in an orbital motion would be flat. So that's actually their claim, as weird as it sounds. Like most things they strawman us with. It's actually the weakest aspects of their own claims that they use to strawman us with domes, edges, eclipses in this instance.
Oh, you're talking about the minus sign that he was talking about. That looks like a minus sign?
Yeah, if you take steps
Yeah.
to reverse the process that they got to their sphere with, the celestial sphere is what they're actually taking, and that comes from flat plane measurements that are sandwich antipodal, like a minus sign. Because if you then put those mathematical measurements of the flat surface into orbital motion and don't convert it into a sphere shape, which you can still do, they're the same measurements, right? The same angles. Then you end up with a flat plane pizza pie in a sky vacuum orbital motion, giving you a minus sign on the moon. That is their model. They've just told us it's ours.
Crazy.
They've told us it's ours. It's not. Get the sense it's going to be a drawn-out show today. Not a busy news week, as they might say. No one's up in arms about any particular interview or video or claim that some news to the scene flat earther, anti-flat earther, I should say, has made. Clearly not. Slow news week, huh?
No, everybody's always late. Look, nobody's here.
Go on, Mush.
Good morning, gents. Nathan, how about that vid I told you yesterday? It came out this week. Just a couple of dudes talking about nonsense, and they dedicated maybe 15 minutes to flat Earth.
Absolutely. We've got a short video on
They're just
Coriolis.
talking
That would
about
probably,
eclipses and not.
if you can
I'm
post
sorry,
it in
go
the,
ahead.
can you post it in Master B? And do you know the timestamp?
I don't, but I can look it up and I'll let you know. Yeah, give me 2 minutes, all right?
Perfect. I've already got one video queued up for Coriolis, but it's only 2 or 3 minutes long. So ideally, if we've got another one, that'll hopefully, cover the rest of the live stream.
I do, but I just don't know if it's gonna be worth your time because these two dudes are just talking nonsense about eclipses and moon, and it's about 15 minutes. It might be a little long for review because again, just nonsense, man. But
I'll give it a go.
I'll post. Yeah, all right. Give me 2 minutes.
Do I need to do my compare bit? Like the warm-up act before the live show. Get you all enthused. Does everyone in here appreciate Earth is flat?
Very nice that it's flat. The only video I've seen recently was Witz. It was I don't know, talking with this Christian guy who's just flipping out the whole time, just so angry. But I haven't really seen any. I don't
Yeah,
watch
Law
the news
Lodge.
debates too much.
Right, Law Lodge. Yeah, we covered that yesterday.
I know how you think.
Yeah,
A young like a young kid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of chubby with stubble.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lord.
he's just losing it.
So Michael Kahn,
Bad Harry Potter.
another one of my patrons. You say he looks like Harry Potter.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He released a video showing that he basically suggested that we all would be better off not breathing. End quote. Lol.
Wow. Yikes.
As a Christian, Michael Kahn was keen to point that out. That you claim to be a Christian, do you? Very nice. Oh, you've got me at the timestamp 46:40. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Mighty Mush. Lad.
That Mighty Mus is ace. He's ace, boy.
This one starts at 34.
Let's get to it.
Just 1 second. Timestamp starts at 34:46 and it goes about 46. So about 12 minutes long.
Oh, a different clip.
The video is called "Is Jordan a Flat Earther?" Let's talk.
Yeah, that's the one I got
just-
up. It's just it started. Its timestamp for me is 46:40. You're saying start at 30
I
something.
believe, yeah, 34 is the beginning. I think it's marked on the video, like you'll see like little segments.
Gotcha.
So it starts at 34 until 46 or something like that.
Is Jordan a flat earther? 34. That'll do. Okay, cool.
I wrote these guys a comment yesterday, but no response.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have a look at that. Ah, Brian, perfect timing.
Hey, Nathan, Andy, how is it?
How is what?
Perfect timing.
Too Irish for me this time of the day. Say that again.
Sorry, I have a bad throat. How is it perfect timing?
Because I've got to press a few buttons to start the live stream, and ideally I'll have something to talk about for 2 minutes, because I won't, and we'll just have dead air. So good timing.
Surely Neil is here, is he? Is Neil talking?
I have nobody to talk to.
Well, I am here now.
That's why you said perfect timing.
Okay.
So, Brian.
Yeah.
This satellite
yeah.
video's got my son going a little crazy.
My satellite videos, which one of them?
The last one you put up, he said something in passing about one of your videos. I'm assuming it's the latest one you put up. So I guess
What did he say?
guess the pain you caused. I forgot. You said something. I'm trying not to engage with him, but he said something smart.
You know what? I keep. You know what? Every time you talk about your son, Neil, it sounds like you just got to do something with him. And I don't mean that in like a fatherly way. It seems like he holds these ideas in his mind and then says, "Well, this is what I should expect in my mind." It sounds like, if you guys went out and did something practical.
Yeah, thank you.
It may be. Yeah,
Thank you.
It may work better.
Yeah, we do things. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I don't mean like get ice cream.
yeah,
I don't mean like get ice cream.
Holy shit. Forget it. Go ahead. You have a conversation about my son with Brian. Go ahead.
Okay, so Brian, I think it would benefit Neil if they went out and just tested something in reality. Not get ice cream, not go to the park. That's not what I meant.
Maybe so,
Go
but
ahead,
it's up to them. It's the father and son, isn't it? So it's not really my business to say, or your business. It's up to them.
Exactly. Anyway, Brian, I think you said something about me using the phone and work on a satellite, something to that effect, because I'm using the phone and you have a video debunking satellites on the globe, something to that effect.
Yeah, your phone has nothing to do with satellites. Your phone gets what's known as assisted AGPS, assisted GPS, which means it's claimed that there's GPS being given to cell towers and other land based, let's say, permanent structures, and that is then being broadcast to your phone. So your phone is not connecting to any satellites. That's a load of rubbish. So he needs to investigate assisted GPS and differential GPS and the different types of what they claim to be GPS.
Right. And as far
He
as my
doesn't,
son,
tell him I said he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's the main problem.
right, it's like everybody else. And they said, cell phones prove GPS, this proves GPS. They're just going what the first thing they see on Wikipedia or whatever, or what somebody says. They have no clue. But see, my son does have a clue. So observation ain't going to work with him. He's a 21-year-old man. He's got to make his own decision on what he wants to latch onto and what he wants to let go of. I let go of the ball a long time ago. Now it's up to him. He knows it's measured flat. He seems to have trouble with the 2 points in the sky nonsense, claiming that things rotate differently in the south.
They don't. Has he ever been? I mean, has he ever been? Well, has he ever investigated astronomy or celestial navigation south of the equator? Has he ever been to the south? Does he realise that there's people who are living south of the equator that are flat earthers? Do you know what I mean? I mean, well, what is it that he wants? Like,
Good morning, folks.
Hello, Nathan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Cheery lot. Got a couple of videos to actually cover today. We haven't covered a video for about a week, although we'll still do some housekeeping questions. Hopefully I'll pick one that I haven't done in a while. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Negative. Those are not sciences.
No, they're not. They often claim to be, though, hence we ask. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
You're going to need a flat plane for that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
can give you measurements that you can turn into an R value afterwards, but I can't give you a measurement for the R value.
You'd have thunk it back in 2016, 17, right? Back at the early days of the debate, we were debating about having Earth curve calculations, and those Earth calculations were based on what we described as a begging the question fallacy of an R value, and it isn't. It's got to be able to back engineer into the actual angle measurements to the stars when you make them on the ground. So therefore, it's not begging the question fallacy, it's very much measured with respect to the flat plane and the angles of the stars that create that R value. So begging the question's selling ourselves short in terms of our understanding of where that value comes from. And where does it come from? A measurement of a flat Earth.
Yeah, I mean, there's no measurement for the R value, and even within their own paradigm, as we found out, within their own paradigm, they would claim that it's impossible to measure it without actually claiming it's impossible to measure it, because they claim that the horizon is a consistent miraged up from their geometric, tangible globe edge. So that means it would be impossible to measure the radius of the globe Earth, even if we were on the globe Earth, simply because we can't see the globe Earth to measure it. You know what I mean? That's it. That's just the truth.
Sure, but the actual mathematics for calculating out an R value, as is the case with Al Biruni on screen now, he's got to get the height of the mountain, so he does trig with respect to a flat plane and the height of the mountain. And then once he goes up the mountain, he's got a eye line, which is the top horizontal line in this diagram, and that is eye level. So eye level is parallel with surface level, and when you point your line that's A to C at the horizon having risen up, as in gone up the mountain, you can claim that because the horizon is now below your position, that's a dip angle measurement. The suggestion is that when you measure to the horizontal plane of reference, the inference is that it's actually a geometric physical point below surface level. So although Brian's correct in his assertions that there is no physical geometric tangent point horizon in physical reality that we could ever actually reference, Al Biruni's claimed to have measured it after deriving the height with a measurement of a flat plane for the height of the mountain, and then with a mathematical conversion, that's the differential between surface level and eye level, infers that there's a geometric horizon, physical, tangible with a straight line to it, non-refracted, to derive R. So you need quite a few flat planes and horizontal eye levels with it in order to get to the point where you can suggest that you can extrapolate out an R value after measuring a flat plane. And that's precisely what Albruni is doing in this diagram. They just don't show you the second plane of reference. If it was just the height of mountain measurement, they'd show you the plane of reference that is surface level, also sometimes referred to as a tangent by globe believers. Well, that surface level is the level that they're going to be calculating the difference of with eye level once up a mountain that you know the height of because you measured it off a flat plane. I think I've laboured that enough.
Yeah, but how did, Brian, quick question. I think the way they got away with it so long is because it was always Earth is so big that it appears flat. Because how would you believe something like that you're on this spinning ball, unless it was just so darn big that it would be flat in a lot of areas to build on? Is that how they got away with this?
No, I think they got away with it over time because they were claiming tangents without having any geometry. If you understand what I mean. As soon as someone says tangent, they're pre-assuming there's a geometry. If you only have a tangent that's tangent to a circle or tangent plane to a sphere, you can't have a tangent to a flat plane. So they were claiming a tangent without having any actual geometry, which was allowing them to beg the question in their own minds. Like, so when one of them says they're shooting a tangent to the horizon, like they used to say before January 2020, they were pre-assuming that that was the tangible edge of a globe. Now when they're talking about placing a tangent directly underneath the feet or underneath the boat in celestial navigation, they're pre-assuming that that line is tangent and touching at one point their sphere. But when they say the word tangent, they're instantly begging the question. So the word tangent allowed them to beg the question, even though they had no geometry to place that tangent on.
What is that tangent called?
Surface
What
level.
is that tangent called? Surface level.
Yeah. In reality, when you're measuring an angle, you're not measuring it off any imaginary tangent plane with a dingleberry earth dangling beneath it. You're measuring it off the surface and referencing surface level, like in this diagram for an angle measurement with a stick and shadow. Well, it doesn't matter what you're measuring so long as you've got a horizontal plane of reference to reference for this angle. And that is precisely what they do. Now, in order to infer that they can take the angle measurement from the surface, they say they've got an imaginary plane of reference, which is only touching the surface at one point. And after they've acquired the angle off a flat plane, with a flat plane of reference, they'll transpose that angle that cannot be acquired from a spherical surface into hell.
Yeah, but the whole thing is totally illogical. It makes no sense. There's no logic to it. A huge ball with buildings and cities on it spinning. So I don't understand how they got away with it. I don't, because it makes no sense.
Well, people will generally not question.
They've changed.
You know?
They've changed the tangent. Yeah, the horizon, the horizontal plane. When you bring the celestial to the horizontal plane, you're creating a tangent by the lowest part of the circle of the sun, or the moon in this case, meeting the horizontal in one single point for your 90-degree measurement. The tangent is not from the observer to the horizon. It's between the horizon and the celestial.
No, that's not a tangent. That's just a straight line. The only tangent.
Yeah,
but
the only tangent.
you bring the celestial to the horizon, just kissing the horizon in one single point, and that's the only thing that they can call a tangent. There is no other.
Well, they can call a tangent if it wasn't refracted. I see what you mean. I thought you were suggesting that it is actually tangential to something, which would imply there's some sphericity to be tangential to.
What George means is that the sun looks like a circle, and you bring it down to touch the horizon. The horizon is a straight line, which means the horizon is making a tangent to that circle.
Oh,
what you
okay, I'd
mean,
never
George,
thought
is
of it
it?
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, I stand corrected, George. Yeah,
Yeah, that's correct.
yeah, I didn't think of it in that way. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry to have corrected you. There is
And when you do that, you are measuring a 90 degree to the surface because the celestial is right in the middle. The vertical of the celestial is meeting the horizontal in one single point. That is the 90 degree that the navigator is measuring. That's when he says mark.
sure. No, I understood the process.
What's
I
good
just
about
never
that,
thought about
though,
it. Even if you're using a star, and when you use the tool, you're bringing the two level in your eyepiece, right, to touch the horizon. Well, that is at that point creating a tangent in the way the tool works. I just never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
well, what's good about it is that the tangent plane, if you see the sun as a three-dimensional object, I don't know if it is, but either way, if you're bringing the sun down and you're treating it as purely a two-dimensional circle, then the tangent, which will be the horizon, has to be a straight line. If you're seeing the sun as a three-dimensional object and you're bringing it down to touch the horizon, then it's tangent to the plane of the Earth. So technically, we could use tangent based on what George is saying. We could use the term tangent as a proof of a flat Earth, as opposed to the other way around.
Sure, but in practical terms, the only tangent that could be described was debated about a couple of weeks ago with either Edibert or Bev, I forget which, when you were describing how on a compass, if you're holding a compass and it's leveled, it's pointing north. Well, the two lines that create east and west that cut through that line, north-south line on your compass, right, can be described as tangential to the area of equal elevation that is created between you and whatever star you measure. So if we're measuring Polaris, for instance, and we've got our compass pointing at it, so the two are congruent, then you've got an east to west straight line that sits on the edge of that circle between you and Polaris. You're on the outside edge of a circle. In other words, if you were to move in a circle and hold the compass and perpetually change it every single time you made a minor move along the, I'm going to call it a line, but when you're moving easterly, for the sake of argument, if you constantly changed your path so you kept north, pointing north, you'd be skirting the outside edge of that circle in your path. But that circle that you formed, imaginary though it is, would have east and west tangential to that circle. But other than that, that's the only, again, imaginary tangent that you're describing, and other than when you actually use the tool to bring the star or sun to the horizon to get your timing data and say mark and write it down and get the angle and get the time and then start looking it up. Yeah, you can describe that as a circle with a line meeting it. Obviously, it's got to be a flat line, the horizon in this instance. It's just so obscure. I just never thought about it. I love things like that. Right, the circle of the sun's meeting the straight line of the horizon. Therefore, you could describe that as the circle being, or the horizon being tangential to the sun. Love it.
Yeah, but it means the horizon has to be a straight line then at that point.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
If
It wouldn't be a
treating the
tangent
sun
otherwise.
as just a circle, if you're treating the sun as a sphere, then the whole Earth, the whole of sea level has to be a plane, horizontal plane.
That's where the 90 degree comes from.
Yeah, it's because you have to remember, what are the ballers, George, you'll attest to this, what are the ballers always trying to deny? They're always trying to deny the opposite of the right-angled triangle that's in the elevation angle in celestial navigation. Because all elevation angles are right-angled triangles, because you're measuring a vertical angular height. That's what you're measuring, right? But they're trying to deny the straight line up and down that's being measured. And when you bring the sun down, which is why they rock the sextant, until it's just touching, just barely tipping or kissing the horizon. right? And then they go mark, because that means they have the time and they have exactly that 90. They know they have it at exactly 90, which means they've just established that opposite of that right angle triangle. They won't be using trigonometry when it comes to the celestials, right? They'll do a different process, but they'll still be establishing that vertical angular line that is the opposite of in a right angle triangle. So the fact that when you bring that sun down, as George, as you were saying, it touches the horizon, and the horizon is being treated as a tangent, which it is at that point geometrically. That means that once you kiss that horizon correctly with the rocking, then you're creating that straight line up. You're creating a 90. That's the whole point. So they literally, that's the part they deny.
On the scope of the sextant, you have a horizontal and a vertical, the crosshairs, yeah? And they'll meet in the center of the scope. So the horizontal of your crosshair needs to be parallel to the horizon, and the vertical of the crosshair, the sun or the celestial, needs to be right in the middle of it, yeah? So you want to have that perfect 90-degree angle, just kissing the horizon before you say mark. And when you mark, you have an acute angle to that 90-degree angle that you just measured, the one that you're going to deduct your acute angle from to find your co-altitude angle.
Right. First you level your tool, then you take the angle, then you take the time.
Well, no, you first take the angle, take your time, and then you level the tool. The dip correction will come afterwards, after the measurement.
So you're saying angle, then leveling, as opposed to what I said.
Yeah, you take
around.
angle, you go mark, which will be the time, which means you'll have the sun, let's just say, just kissing the horizon, creating that 90 with the horizon, so you're creating that vertical with the horizon, and then afterwards you will correct with the dip correction, and any celestial incorrectly termed celestial refraction that needs to be corrected for. But you will then do the corrections afterwards. So you measure first at port, your height of eye, then you measure using the horizon, right? When you put say mark, which is your time, at that point you will have created the 90 with the horizon and a straight line through the sun, creating your vertical, and then you level with the height of eye, with the dip. You level then, creating your horizontal. So you end up with a horizontal line between the boat and the GP of the sun, and a straight line up as a vertical angular height. That's your vertical. And your angle to the sun obviously will be the hypotenuse.
Yeah, we're dealing with a right angle triangle, like shown on screen now, albeit not with the sextant, but that's the principle of what you're doing. Through the eyepiece, when you measure the angle, you're essentially bringing the eyepiece, or what you're looking at through the eyepiece, to be on the same plane as the horizon after leveling your tool. Well, in so doing, by bringing it down, you're getting the angle.
You have to do it again.
In the tool. What?
You're after saying after you level the tool. No, that happens prior to leveling the tool. The leveling of the tool happens afterwards.
Am I consistently getting it in the wrong order?
Yeah. I don't know why, because you know this, but it's just one of those things. We all have those things where we say it in the wrong order. I do with some things as well. Where the leveling of the tool is the dip correction, the height of eye correction, and that happens after you've made your measurement and established your 90 degrees.
Oh, we're talking about different things.
Yeah,
I'm talking about just rocking the sextant.
Well, that's not really leveling the tool. That's creating the vertical. The leveling of the tool would be the creating of the horizontal. What you're referring to is correct, but I'm just saying you could be picked up on that.
Fine. Okay. It's a phraseology issue, because when I'm saying leveling, strictly speaking, what leveling would be, I'm glad I can detail this. This is what we originally argued about 3 years ago, right? Is you bringing yourself down to the surface that you're referencing, because you're above it. So you're not referencing it if you're slightly above it. Therefore, when I say leveling, I'm using the word incorrectly because that part of the process does come afterwards. Because the first time you corrected me, I thought, am I wrong? Because isn't he talking about dip correction, which I didn't mention yet? Well, I did when I said leveling, and you're absolutely correct. That terminology is attached to the dip correction, not to the measurement. So you're right, my friend. It's just one of those, like you say, sometimes you're not really paying that much attention to how the order of the phraseology comes out, as long as the information's correct.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, what they're doing, you don't need to level the horizon. It's already level. You're not going to do it.
You're causing a load of feedback, Matt.
Was that Matt? Was it? But no, you don't need to level the horizon. You just need to make your 90, the sun making 90 by kissing the horizon with the sun or the celestial body, whatever. It's afterwards. But this is the thing. This is why I was so staunch and have been so staunch on the dip correction, because that proves whether what you're doing is being done. That proves at that point, you don't need to argue on past that. That proves whether what you're doing is being done over a horizontal plane surface, which is the Earth as a horizontal plane surface, or the Earth as a spherical surface. Because if at that point, if we were dealing with a spherical surface of a globe of radius 3959 miles, then the correction for dip would have to be very, very different. And
it wouldn't be
have
before you say how different it
would
be. It can't be. You're correcting to the horizontal plane. It's an angle correction. So to suggest that you're correcting to a curved surface is it's so stupid. It's silly.
It is silly, but I'm just saying that's the thing. Even though it's silly to even entertain it, that is the thing that proves or disproves it. Even though it's stupid to entertain it, we have a ridiculous amount of people out there who will claim that we're on a globe, but that proves or disproves whether we are or not, the dip correction. Because if we are, we will be correcting to a globe's geometric edge, which will be obviously a lot lower in angle, which will be lower in angle than the horizon we're viewing.
But you're describing it like you can correct to a point that's a geometric, non-refracted point on a globe to make it work. But that isn't dip.
No,
I'm getting frustrated because this is what you were trying to stress to me 3 years ago. This is what you were stressing to me. You're correcting to the surface level. That's what the correction is. So to suggest that somehow you can fudge it into being a correction from a non-refracted geometric tangent point off the basis of the surface being curved is absurd.
That's not what Brian's saying.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying. But the point I'm making is dip correction proves that you're not doing that.
Yes.
It proves that you're referencing because the water at the horizon. If your eye line is 35 feet above the water underneath your boat, then for dip correction to happen, right, and to work, which it does, then the water at the horizon has to also be 35 feet below your eye line. Yeah. And that could be any distance away.
Yeah, so you are quite literally measuring Earth flat when you take your height of eye measurement with respect to surface level. That's a measurement of the surface level and your height above it. It's a flat Earth measurement in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah, you're gaining your horizontal off of the horizontal plane your boat is on. Do you know what I mean? You're gaining your horizontal off of that. And if the Earth was a globe, you wouldn't be able to do that. The dip correction wouldn't, as it is, wouldn't exist.
Well, you broke it down beautifully last time when you were describing your height of eye is the same always, right? It doesn't matter how far out to sea you go. And in terms of what you're measuring with respect to and correcting to, that's horizontal, the plane, the surface level, your functionality of that correction must have the point in the distance that your eye line is level with, or your eye line, that's a bit redundant. It must also be at the exact same height that you've just measured at the port. In other words, eye level and surface level will always maintain a parallel. That is to say, your height, if you measured it, is going to be the same as someone that you can see in the distance on a boat if you're eye lines are level with at the same height as each other. In other words, the height above the horizon is the same as your height at port when you measure that measurement, which can only lead to one thing: having parallel eye line and surface level for the maths to actually function in the first place, to be able to correct to surface level. Ergo, yes, I like that phraseology much better. It proves the point, because it can only be done if Earth is flat. That's how the maths functions. It can't function any other way, and it's absurd to suggest that it could. It can't.
Well, the corrections in the almanac show that you're only dealing with a horizontal plane. Those corrections are for a horizontal plane. Any mathematician will show you that's what they're for. You're addressing a horizontal plane. You can take any eye height for dip correction in the almanac and refer it to Metabunk and the eye height, right, the dip correction, which will be a dip of the eye line, to a globe's geometric tangible edge, and you will see that there's a constant difference because your eye line must dip more to that edge. It doesn't happen. The correction you're making is purely for a horizontal plane.
Yeah,
that was my point with it.
Exactly, and you're correcting the straight line angle from eye level to surface level.
Exactly, and if you look at the black swan, just as an example, because it's the most well-known example, right? The horizon is, you have to say, at least 10 miles away if you want to give it a distance from the observer with just a 1 foot observer height. So if you're 35 feet above the water, if your eye line is 30, and now often the time on a lot of ships it'll be way more than 35 feet, but if your eye line is 35 feet above the water underneath your boat, then considering that the horizon moves about with weather, you know what I mean, and that, you don't know when it's going to be closer to you or further away, then it could be at any distance. You know what I mean? So you're looking out and you're seeing an horizon, and you don't know when you're out at sea, because I could basically say almost every baller we deal with the exception of maybe one, have never been out to sea where you can't see land, right? When you can't see land, you have no idea how far away the horizon is. That horizon could be 2 miles away or 20 miles away, and you can't differentiate over that because of the limited angle. You're so close to the water, especially if you're in a smaller boat. You can't say how far away it is. So if you're 35 feet above the water, you don't know if that horizon is 25 miles away. That means that the water at that horizon is in a horizontal with the water underneath your boat. That's 25 miles of horizontal water. You can't have that on a globe. Do you know what I mean? That was the thing about it.
Exactly. Game over.
You're right, and
that is
wrong.
the horizontal
Generally,
plane.
I don't know. I've been out on a boat plenty of times, and each time the land's disappeared, mentally you've got, or at least me, because I've never gone out on any mad voyages that you're going away from land for a very long period. In my mind, each time you've strayed away from, not me driving, or whatever it's called, sailing or whatever, driving the boat, you got an idea how far the land you've just come from is. So mentally, you kind of know how far the horizon is because you kind of kept track of it. Do you know what I mean? It's only when you go out and you get further and further and further, and then you're in the middle of the ocean and there isn't any reference, and you can't imagine how 3 hours ago you were near the shore. That's at the point that you'd look out to the horizon and go, okay, well, how far is it? I don't know. Who knows? 1.2 times the square root.
I disagree with you there.
Go on.
And the reason I disagree with you is because when I've been out on boats, and many, many times I was away from shore far enough, and because I wasn't on big boats, I was on small boats, you don't have to go very far away before you can't see the land. A couple of miles, as to say, a few miles out and you're not seeing the land. And even if you're not seeing the land because of haze or whatever, you can't see it. So, and even if the land is visible behind you, when you're looking straight out to your left and right, you're seeing water, and there's an horizon there. And you don't know how far away that horizon is because it's purely an optical position. It's not a geometric point, and that's why they have to add in to their maths that their horizon is that the horizon we see is a constantly changing mirage that's miraged up off of their globe. And why did they have to do that? Because the horizon, when you're looking out to sea, you're looking at this horizon, you don't know how far away it is.
Not
Within
a
their
hill then.
maps, for
Not a
their,
hill blocking your view after all then.
sorry, I missed that.
Not a hill then.
We just hit.
Not a hill called Earth Curve getting in your way then.
No. So how can it be? Hills don't move around. This is the thing. Hills don't move around. The horizon does move around. So it's not a hill. It couldn't be. That's the end of that, isn't it? But they want to. Their latest one on their opposing side is to slip in the middle of a debate that the horizon is it is a globe edge with mathematical or with refraction, with refractive something. They'll throw into something like that. So they're claiming it is the globe's edge, but it's a refracted globe's edge.
They say it's
So
the
they're claiming
refracted.
it's refractive
They say
blockage.
it's the refracted representation of the geometric position.
Yes, refractive blockage. Isn't
Yeah.
it? That's what they're claiming.
Yeah,
And you
like
might
John's
miss it in a
namesake.
debate,
Yeah, that's John's namesake, isn't it? Refracted curvature. Just do a quick shout out to Brian Bender. He says, please discuss this short video live on how absolutely retarded it is what he said. It's a walking contradiction. I'll link it in the live chat. You won't be able to link it in the live chat. Now you're going to get it. You're going to have to maybe join the Discord server to get it to me, Brian. Thank you very much for the super chat. I don't know what video. If you can name it, maybe one of the moderators will look it up on your behalf and then post it to me in my Skype chat. So it gets internally filtered to me. Not that I'm suggesting you'd send something horrible, especially when you're spending $5 on a super chat to do it. So yeah, also we are going to cover a couple of videos today. So the first is going to be this one. I've just linked it in the live chat, which is Blimey Cow. Okay, fine. Yeah, please let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. If you are actually watching live right now, right here, then do this now, as in go and click on the link that I've just posted in the live stream chat and let them know in whatever the general term that you can that we've covered their video, so that they have at least been made aware that we're critiquing what they do. And if they were to respond, you would hope, or I would hope, that they would put a link to my video and help us in the YouTube algorithm, where we receive no love whatsoever from YouTube, or very, very, very limited love. That's gone one notch above no love to very, very, very limited. So a slight improvement, but nevertheless, we don't get much love from YouTube. So hopefully they'd put a link to our video if they were to respond. And in the meantime, hopefully that call to action's given a few people a bit of time to actually click on the link, go to their video, let them know without any swearing, without any language that's going to get your comment removed, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so they can hopefully leave a link to my video if they do a response. Said that 2 or 3 times. Do you reckon that's given enough time for people to actually go and click on it? Hopefully so. Right, we're going to get into it. I sound checked the other video, but not this one, so we'll do that now. Hopefully it's all good and sounds okay.
Finally the week. It's finally the week. So people are like, is Jordan, as they say, a flat earther? Does he believe in the flat earth?
There's your first problem. So people are asking you about your belief. Yeah, you obviously haven't watched this show. Earth's measured flat. There's no need to believe in anything. The fact that your outgoing religion, if you are a flat earther, was based on belief in sphericity, doesn't mean that the juxtaposition of the new rhetoric is belief-based. It isn't. It's measurement-based. So there's no believing in flat earth. If people are asking you that, then if you are, you're not doing a good job.
I feel like people would think that I would.
No, Jordan.
I come across as that.
Do you?
There's a lot of people that believe in. There's a lot of people right now that believe that are.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. You know, we're on the Discord server tour currently, trying to explain to our compadres that you don't need to be exercising your beliefs in flat Earth, because there aren't any. Earth's measured flat. It's not a belief. We're in a category error. Globe Earth is a belief. Globe Earth is a religion. That doesn't mean that the alternative is a religion or a belief. It isn't. In fact, the religion of heliocentrism comes from the flat Earth measurements we demonstrate to our audience. That would be to say, to get to the idea of being on a sphere, you first need to measure Earth flat.
Are watching, and they genuinely believe that's a real belief. That's not like fringe.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that you wouldn't suspect that believe that right now.
Okay.
What the hell does that mean? That
Yeah,
it's a real belief
if you're a
that
flat
it's not,
earther, you don't have to believe.
not fringe. It's a real belief that isn't fringe. What the hell does that mean? Anybody fill me in on that jargon? They're a bit younger than I, so maybe that's jargon I'm just unfamiliar with. Fringe means on the outskirts of something. Real belief. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? Hold on. If it's a belief, it's a belief. Well, it's a real belief. As in what? You can demonstrate that people hold the belief? I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something.
Then it's not a belief anymore. If it's real, then it's no longer a belief.
No, it's
Can you
like me
measure the
saying
belief?
there are genuinely people out there that believe in unicorns. And you're like, nah, no one really believes in unicorns. And I'm like, no, it's a real belief.
I haven't delved into this deloved too much. Like, I know the basics of it. I've heard people that are like, you really can't disprove it. And I'm like, so let's put it this way. You remember
It's not on me to disprove this.
they're like, okay,
You say it's not on him to disprove it. I mean, you can believe in whatever you like, but if you're going to start debating about it, then you're the positive claimant in the case of the outrageous claim, the extraordinary claim, that we stand on a spherical surface hurtling through a sky vacuum in violation of natural law and the measurements of Earth itself. So you are in the positive position to defend that.
with the solar eclipse that happened, from what I understand, the flat Earth people are saying, well, we really on like a flat Earth, and there's a sun and a moon that are the.
No. I mean, I don't have a positive claim about what causes eclipse beyond the measurements and documentation through the ephemeris of the patterns that we can track. Well, the patterns aren't proof of anything. Like saying, I've got a prediction that we're going to have midday just after 11:59. It's like you can see patterns in the sky and you can track them. That doesn't give you any predictive capabilities beyond recognition of patterns. So it's not scientific. And having an idea of what the eclipses will do and then describing them with respect to their angle relationships that I've just described, converted into a spherical idea and a model of heliocentrism, doesn't mean that we're standing on a sphere, because the idea we are standing on a sphere comes from measurements of Earth flat. So it's preposterous to actually reify the heliocentric model beyond its original intended purpose, to give you better predictive capabilities of the motions of the stars. To suggest that that model, once reified into existence, suggestive of us being on a ball-shaped world moving around the sun, is utterly absurd and defies the original measurements that those calculations have come from. So when it's put into this position where it's suggested that flat earthers say that blah, 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 and globe earthers who use a flat earth measurement to infer sphericity and orbital motion suggest that we've got occultation. Well, your suggested occultation came from flat earth measurements, so I'll take that as a win. What's that? I've got to make a flat earth claim about it. I just did. I used yours. I just showed you the origins of yours. So if you're going to claim heliocentric winds with things like orbits and eclipses thereafter, I'll say, well, your orbit derivation came from flat earth measurements, so if you're going to call it a win, it's a flat earth win. You now trying to stack it up in false dichotomy to suggest that your actual use of flat earth measurements to suggest orbital motion has the side of false dichotomy on your side for being a globe proof isn't. But what will actually happen is, and like he's setting up right now, flat earthers say X and it's wrong, and us globers, when using flat earth measurements, are right, because our flat earth measurements turned into sphere-shaped orbital motion does match with the already new predictive line of patterns that we had logged for a long time before heliocentrism even existed. Now, that's a very complex unpacking of what is a probably off-the-cuff discussion between these two about their understanding that you should have a false dichotomy between flat Earth and, in quotes, globe Earth, because it isn't. It's flat Earth-based, their globe Earth reification. That was a lot to unpack for the audience. Sorry about that. It's just the way it is.
Well, for someone on the heliocentric globe side to state flat earthers can't predict solar eclipse, that just shows to anyone who actually does understand the situation how ignorant you are, because eclipses come from the Saurus cycle, not called the Saurus prediction, called the Saurus cycle. It's a detailing of a cycle that's happening in the ephemeris of the sky. And it's from Babylonian times and before, when there was no globe, there was only a flat plane. Nobody thought the Earth wasn't a flat plane back then. So the solar cycle is based on, and QE has shown this with citation from people, from educated people who've looked into it, that yeah, the solar cycle is based on a flat plane. It's a flat Earth, right, cycle, because it's the celestial dome, essentially. That's what it is. So when someone says, "Oh, you flat earthers can't predict this solar eclipse," for a start, that person thinks solar eclipses are predicted. Number one. Number two, they think that their globe, an inanimate mathematical nothing, predicts these things. And number three, they don't realize that the cycle that's used by NASA and places to tell them they're predicting it is a cycle that happens over a flat plane. That's where it comes from. So that just shows how ignorant people are when they state that.
Exact same size, and they go around on the exact same axis, and they just perfectly cross over each other. And that's like...
You'll need a flat Earth for that axis. What, 90 degrees to the plane of reference, perpendicular? You need a flat Earth for this. We're not long into their waffle, and we're into flat Earth being used. Shocking, innit? It's not like me and Brian just went through the process. In their minds, when they use words like that, they don't know that they need a flat plane for them. They just hear it and think, oh, axis, that's what, a line through a sphere? No, it's a mathematical description of rotation with respect to a plane. That's where you get your axis from. You'll need a flat plane in the mathematical description that you're appealing to. I'm not suggesting the validity of that mathematical appeal. I'm suggesting that you will need a plane of reference to describe it. So factually speaking, you need a plane to describe your axial rotation. Now, you don't know that. We do. Please share the show. Just under 100 people watching. Be good to get a few more watching. Smash that share button. It's only 2 clicks and you can get onto your favourite social media outlet. Be it Bebo or MySpace, whatever you
That's
use.
the solar eclipse. Instead of it being like, the moon is whatever, how many? 9 million miles away, and the sun is like 98 million miles away, something like that.
It's just, I'm not going to mock him for his ignorance of his own mathematical derivations of flat plane measurements of radial values with use of Polaris to extrapolate out a distance of 9 million miles to the moon and 10 million to the sun, did he say? I shouldn't mock him. He just doesn't know. I mean, why would he? He's a normie. He's been raised with the idea that he's standing on a sphere and that's all he's supposed to know about it and that's all he needs to know about it, so he hasn't given it much thought until now, and he declared that at the early start of this little tete-a-tete between the two of them. Their ignorance of it is perfectly on show for everybody here. But why would you know the distance to the moon? Right? And why would you know that to extrapolate out that distance, you first got to measure a flat Earth radial value to give you a circle of equal elevation with Polaris to derive an outside edge we call the equator, to then suggest that we pop three-dimensionally the 2D plane measurements of latitude into a spherical form. He doesn't know any of that. And why would he? He just plucked a figure out of the air because he's on camera and he's got to get through this garbage about flat Earth as far as he's concerned.
But to me, it's like, okay, they are both equally unbelievable. So, like, why? That's not more believable to me that the Earth is flat and that there's two perfectly circular things that are perfectly going over each other. Like, why is that more believable?
Because that's the problem, isn't it? We covered that right at the start, because it's not about what you can happily believe in. I mean, it's nice that we can see your bias also right there on your sleeve too, which is cool in a way, because you're saying, well, I'm being told I need to believe in something. Which one's easier to believe in? Well, this one's no easier or more difficult to believe in than the other one. If I want to believe that the Earth's moving around the sun and that's the reason for the motion in the heavens, then that's fairly easy to believe based on the fact I've been told it since birth. But simultaneously, if I describe two motions of lights moving above a pizza pie, in a dome, then that's pretty much easy to believe too. You're like, all right, so we're into a false dichotomy of which one you should believe in. No, both are measured flat. To infer either, to suggest that we should have a false dichotomy is absurd, because both have their origins in the measurements of Earth, which is flat. So you don't need belief. That's how it's punted out into the mainstream, so that people think that there's a need to have a new belief, when there isn't. Your old belief was based on the measurements of it being flat. So just realise how Earth's measured, and if you want, you can continue with your globe belief. You just have the advanced heliocentric understanding that to get to that belief to reify, you need to measure Earth and the angles to the stars with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. That's surface level, sea level, flat. That's how it's measured.
Then that there is a nuclear reactor 98 million miles away, and then there just happens, like, to me, that almost proves God more.
Right.
It's like, look, this whole thing is crazy. Like you've got,
they can happen to go across from each other, and they happen to be the same size
in the same ratio distance apart to make it make sense, so that we can make scientific discoveries, so we can see. It's almost.
So, based on Keplerian extrapolations of flat Earth measurements of angles to stars, we're making scientific discoveries based on their suggestion that we've got the distance of Moon and Sun congruent with them being the same size in our field of view. The same apparent angular resolution, the apparent angular size, rather. Okay. And that not only is these beliefs in juxtaposition and false dichotomy, these beliefs are, for you, proof of God? What? There's no God, there's no science, there's nothing in this but mathematical extrapolations of flat Earth measurements. That's all there is in this. Put into false dichotomy so that you think you've got something you need to believe in, and contrasted with something else that you think you need to believe in. And also, none of this is science. Category error.
Almost like proof to me that God is like, look, this is impossible.
I'm going to give you some breadcrumbs here so you can try to figure out how this all works.
Not only
but
is
only
it
once
impossible,
every few years.
Not only is it impossible that you guys could exist.
I found that quite offensive. I mean, I'm not a Christian, but by the same token, I know there's a God. And to suggest that God is hiding things from us and leaving us breadcrumbs, when the very basis of our entire navigation system has been offered up by the virtue of how the heavens operate and how we measure them, to me just seems almost offensive to God. I'd be tutting if I was God sat on a cloud right now. What do you mean I'm trying to hide it with you with breadcrumbs? The only reason you can find your way from A to B is because you're looking up at the stars and measuring them. You think I'm hiding stuff? Heaven forbid. You know exactly when that star's going to be over that piece of ground, and on the basis of that you can find your way around and not get lost. The majesty of the heavens is the reason we've got our maps, it's the reason we've expanded the territories, it's the reason we've got the new worlds. To say God's hiding stuff from us in that regard is utterly absurd also, as far as I'm concerned.
God isn't hiding anything. Man is. God has everything right out there in the open.
Men have hidden it, and they've hidden it with the globe. The majesty of the heavens used for navigation has been turned into a sphere. We measured Earth flat and navigated it quite happily for quite a long time. Then men came along and decided that they needed to control people. And then they started lying to them about their world.
Right.
Not only is it impossible, like it's mind numbing to me, because it's like, that's not the most. The fact that there's a nuclear reactor that far away that's just perfectly distant enough that we can survive, and that there's a moon that is like keeping us all.
Yeah, it's the second law of thermodynamics violation. You didn't get the memo, did you say?
Yeah, I didn't got the memo yet. He says it's a reactor in the space.
Yeah, gas-filled space.
And that thing about...
Go on, Brian.
Saying that thing about the sun being a nuclear reactor, that has absolutely zero validity. They beg the question with hydrogen. It's actually not even nuclear, it's a hydrogen fusion. They beg the question with hydrogen fusion reactors that they're doing what's happening in the sun, in the stars, they will say, because all the stars are extrapolated out from what they say the sun is. But there's absolutely zero. If you look into it correctly, like I did correctly, there is no evidence whatsoever for their claims. There Do hydrogen fusion reactors exist? Yes. Is the sun a hydrogen fusion reactor? I have no idea. I know this much though. I know that no one else has any idea either. When you look into it, I won't go into all the details now because it's actually a bit of I could spend 7 minutes talking about it. But no, there's no evidence whatsoever that it has anything to do with hydrogen fusion.
Yeah, but the current claim is that the sun is it's a gas giant, a physical gas that they can bounce radar from, an oxymoron. So yeah, he didn't got the memo.
Yeah, it's a black
He
body
needs
we
to
can bounce
understand.
Stuff off, which is
Yeah,
just stupid.
he
And
needs
it's
to
also
understand his model first before we can debunk it.
and it's also a second law of thermodynamics violation. It's a gas giant not expanding into an area of volume available to it. It's utterly absurd.
Well, what they actually claim, I won't be going into what I was just saying is technical, but this is just based off what they actually believe, is that it is hydrogen and helium plasma, and it creates its own toroidal field, right, due to heat, a toroidal field that doesn't happen with heat in reality, right? And this toroidal field keeps all the plasma on the sun or whatever. This is what they believe. So where did they get that out of? Because hydrogen fusion reactors use toroidal fields to hold the plasma in place because they can't use solid containers for the plasma because it's too hot. So they need, and because plasma, ionized gas, will adhere to a electromagnetic field, they then extrapolate that out that the sun is creating its own toroidal field, something that there is no evidence for in reality that can happen. Because the plasma, I'm pretty sure the plasma that's in a hydrogen fusion reactor gets to a heat that's hotter than what they're claiming is in the sun or something like that. Yeah, yes, the heat within the sun creates its own toroidal field. It's so convoluted and nonsense. But that's what they think. They think that that's happening. So all that plasma is staying there because it's creating its own toroidal field. Yet in reality, we require a separate toroidal field that we must create to hold plasma in place. We can't. It doesn't just create its own toroidal field. So that's just another element to how ridiculous the claim is that the sun is a hydrogen fusion reactor, or as they just said, a nuclear reactor, which is not. That's just a colloquial misunderstanding.
Alive and together with the oceans and everything and the tides. But like, okay, that's impressive, sure. But then like, what about reproduction? What about the fact that there's two different people, different kinds of people that can come together and create a new life form?
Right.
Non sequitur fallacy.
Like, isn't that...
What is he? Hold on. He said a new life form? What is he, creating aliens with his kids?
Just creating
I created another human being.
Straight up non sequitur.
Just isn't that like the most unbelievable? I don't know. I feel like flat Earth people are like, well, it's almost like we're the center of the universe. And so I'm doing a really bad job of explaining. This has just been running through my mind for the past since.
I'm just going to strawman a whole group of people, and I haven't really got a clue, but I'm going to strawman you all anyway with this little disclaimer. Okay, well, that makes everything good then. Let's hear it.
Since the solar eclipse happened, all of this was like their arguments and stuff.
Okay.
So to me, it's like, it makes more sense to me that we're not at the center of the universe.
Right. Oh, is that what they think?
And correct me if I'm wrong, guy. I'm not making fun of anybody. Like I have thought about this a lot, and I'm very interested in what you think. It's something I have researched, and I love having conversations. If a flat Earth person came in,
why is he bullshitting his audience? Why is it that when people disclaim that they've done a lot of research after stumbling and fumbling their way about what they're going to represent their opponent as with a straw man, well, I don't get it. Just admit it. You haven't got a clue. You don't have to be embarrassed. Up until this point, I was being lenient on you because you disclaimed it early. Now, you're telling us you've done a research little stint on it. Oh, really? What you mean is you've watched a few anti-flat Earth videos. We already know what you're alluding to, even though you're not saying it, right? 10 years of doing this, you're like an open book to us. As far as I'm concerned, you haven't done any research. Yeah, you've watched a few vids on YouTube and it's piqued your interest. That's it. Now you're making videos about it. Well, anyway, we'll get to the straw man that he understands after his lot of research. Sorry to give you all the preamble. 102 people watching. Woo-hoo-hoo! Please share the show if you've not done so already. It's like 2 clicks, as I'm going to do for this guy now. Share, and then it just shows you all your favourite things. Maybe not MySpace. In any event, I am going to stick his link in our video, because I'm like that. I'm good like that, you know. I want to share my meager audience with him, in spite of him being considerably larger. So please let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link, as I say, going by in my live stream chat now. So in spite of the fact that we don't get very much algorithmic love, it's still nice to share the love with the people that we do actually cover. In this case, this dude, which is Blimey Cow. Fair enough. Anyway, yeah, please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Even if you are watching after the fact and you're not watching live, do click on the link. Do let him know, or them know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. It would be nice if they did make a response. Maybe they'd thank us. Oh, I had no idea that the derivation of orbital motion and the idea that we are standing on a reified sphere came from the measurements of angles to Polaris to give us outside edges that turned into radial values on a flat circle of equal elevation, and are inferred to be spherical radial values at the outside edge we call the equator. I didn't know that. Now I do. Thank you, Nathan. Here's Nathan's link. Go and check him out. Maybe he'll do that. We'll see. But I'm not going to be so kind if you lie and pretend that you've done a load of research when you clearly haven't. My sympathy or apathy or whatever the word is, that goes pretty quickly. Oops.
Walk, it'd be like the greatest conversation of my life.
Wow,
I would
our
love
first
it.
guest, the flat
It would be
earther.
so much fun. I would love to hear what they're thinking. So this is not like
3
me
seconds
attacking-
into the conversation. Hey, watch this video.
Yes, exactly. Watch
He can
this.
explain it better than I can.
Exactly. It makes more here. This is what I have to say. Okay, the people. It was flat Earth people who were crucifying.
This is a 10-second sentence fragment. Oh my god.
The people who were like, no, I'm not going to wear a mask in the store. No, I'm not going to do. Look, I will lose my life to tell you, like Copernicus. I will lose my life and throw me in jail. Because I did the research. I looked up. I'm like showing you in the telescopes. This is not flat. Like we're not the center of the universe.
Does it sound to me like
Copernicus looked up.
he doesn't have a clue? He's talking about masks and he's talking about reproduction. It's like, it sounds like what you've researched in the last few months is COVID and sex. That sounds like your research, because you seem to be coming back to those things that you've alluded to in your research. I mean, I can only go on what you've said, and that is very literally what you have said. Where's the research on the subject that you're discussing? I don't really get it.
Universe, guys, and I'm a Christian. I'm telling you. And they're like, no, that's not good enough. We're the center of the world.
Wasn't that
And so-
Galileo?
I don't know, but I'm
Galileo.
pretty sure it was Copernicus. Well, no, I'm pretty sure it was Copernicus.
Oh, okay.
He did a lot of research on this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so what I mean is these were like Christian people.
Did you say Copernicus did a lot of research on this stuff? It's the Copernican model.
Yeah, that's what he said. And he said he looked up.
I'm sure Copernicus did do a lot of research on this orbital motion he developed with his Keplerian laws of orbital motion. That's research, is it? All right. Okay.
He said Copernicus. He said Copernicus.
Did you not say Kepler? I thought you said Kepler and Copernicus.
Or maybe he said
No, he
both.
said-
I just know he started with Copernicus.
It's Galileo.
Oh, you said Galileo. My bad.
Right.
Who were like, hey, look, I believe in God. This is proving that like he's
Right.
bigger than we could ever imagine. And like
Right.
Whenever you hear a bullshitter, they normally insert words like quite often. You know, like, think of the next word I'm going to say. This thing that I don't really know about is like, think of next word to say. Like, what I'm saying is...
isn't it so true? It's like we're so insignificant in this universe, but like
Ugh, getting tedious. I might move on.
Maybe you are, buddy.
No, you're insignificant in the heliocentric model of the world after measuring Earth flat. In terms of this, let's just wrap up this center of universe thing, right? Territorial mapping is done with respect to Polaris at the center. Okay, so in terms of having a centralized point to map from, you have one absolute direction that is incredibly useful for mapping. Having an absolute direction, like north, well, that is based on Polaris. And our entire structure for mapping and modeling the world that we know is based on that. Now, does that extrapolate out successfully into me inferring I know the parameters and extremities of our known existence? I'm going to go with no. Now, there are Muppets out there that will tell you that they can infer that and extrapolate out, and more power to them. They can have their beliefs too. But in terms of matter of fact, what we measure with respect to Polaris at the center. So our system is Polaris-centric. Now, if you want to suggest that Polaris is the center of our known universe, because you make those extrapolations, then that's your bag, not mine. But the facts are we measure with respect to a flat plane and a true north. Those things are matter of fact and prove Earth's flat. Who cares what people believe about the rest of the extrapolation of our known existence? The reality is you don't know and I don't know. Heliocentrism would suggest that we're moving around a sun-centric system. That would be to say heliocentric, helios being the sun, centric being at the centre, sun at centre, with you on a spherical Earth extrapolated out from those flat Earth measurements and put into sun-centric orbital motion by Kepler. Oh, there's a super chat. I'll shout out that. Hold on 1 second. Bring it up on screen. Shout out to Michael Kahn. Bev will try tomorrow. Smiley face. I don't know what that means, but thank you for the super chat. I'll chat you out in a different way. We talked about you in the pre-show and indeed yesterday, Michael Kahn, because you were covering another different Christian who was alluding to the idea that we shouldn't be breathing. That would be Law Lodge. So Michael Kahn made a video on that. And I don't know why there's suddenly a surge of Christians talking about flat Earth from a non-flat Earth perspective. That is to say that there's the only way I can describe this is, sorry if this offends you if you are a Christian, anti-flat Earth Christians suddenly rising to the top of the froth, if you know what I mean. Anybody notice this? Like this one we're covering now is alluding to the idea of being a Christian, leaning into it reasonably heavily. Maybe it's nothing. It's just the third or fourth time it's happened recently.
I don't know if these people really are. I think they're just using that element because they know there's such a big Christian contingency involved in flat Earth, and they know it's such an argument within the Christian world that I'm sure there's Christian LARPers out there who are people pretending to be Christians, might be born into a Christian family, but they're not practicing Christian, and they're claiming to be a Christian and the globe out there to try and hold back the tide, basically. That's really what I see it as.
Sure, no, I get what you mean. I mean, having been raised in a Christian family, and I'm sure you're the same, Brian, Catholic, no doubt for you. Was it Catholic for you?
Yeah, Jesus, there was no if you were, the only Christians around here were the odd Jehovah's Witness. That was it.
Right. So
Catholic for me.
Indeed, but I'm just saying it's one that maybe it's just the difference between Brits and Americans. Or, I know you're not a Brit, Brian, but you know what I mean. We don't necessarily lean into that Christian upbringing as much as the Americans do, even if they aren't necessarily devout Christians. In fact, I'm quite hesitant because I'm not knowledgeable on the subject. And if someone said, well, do you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior? I'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, well, why don't you know about this page and verse in the Bible? Because I don't read it very often. So when you're going to profess to being something, it's like saying, well, because I understand science, I can now start calling myself a scientist. Well, what science have you done? Well, none. But I understand how it works. It's like, that doesn't make you a scientist. And this, for him, and a lot of people who you just call LARPers, it's not that you can't call yourself a Christian, it's just professing yourself to be openly on a forum that's reaching the public. It has a different standard attached to it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to. Maybe this is a subject for an after show rather than a live stream.
You may be a staunch Christian, let's just say, right? But the fact that it's been pointed out to you in recent years that the Bible, which you maybe followed or felt that you followed the word of to the letter, it may be pointed out to you that it's not referencing a heliocentric globe paradigm. That may be an issue for you.
I don't know.
You know?
Absolutely.
Well, maybe that's because that isn't necessarily the Christian upbringing that I had. I might have had it in school, like in my early primary school, because it was a Church of England school. But beyond that, my grandma was a missionary, and my uncle, her son, was a pastor, and there's lots of Christianity in the family. But I was only ever taught about the sacrifice Jesus made and the importance of that. That was the thing that was laboured for me as I was growing up, as opposed to a need to adhere to certain elements of the Bible. Obviously, they're all were used as teaching tools. And I think it's, just to give her a quick plug, one of the reasons I do lean into how Paula Bible U teaches, because she's stressing the importance of certain aspects that the Bible teaches that are fundamental to being a Christian, as opposed to chapter and verse how my interpretation suggests you should run your life to be given a pass to heaven, which is incongruent with the very sacrifice of Jesus himself, which is how it's taught in my adult life by people like Paula, as opposed to, and indeed some of the churches I went to with my parents. But from my parents and my grandparents, I got a different, the understanding that Paula puts out in terms of what it is to be a Christian. So when people lean into it in the way that this guy and various others that we've currently dealt with lean into it, I see it as the type of person that would also lean into the idea that you must follow this particular way of being because of my interpretation of what this verse says. And therefore what you're doing is bad, and therefore you're going to hell. That kind of Bible bashing is something that I absolutely hate, in fact. And maybe I'm wrong, but I read into this guy and others like him as being that type of Christian when they profess to be one.
Yeah, but that kind of person's not a Christian. That kind of person is a fraud. For me, the best example of a Christian, obviously Paula would be, when it comes to the reading of the King James and that Bible, her knowledge and that her research on that would be so in depth. You'd have to point at her as having the most, let's just say, in-depth knowledge, or the in-depth of that, of all the background of that and the translations from Greek to Latin and etc. But for me, QE is the ultimate Christian, because until QE, I didn't have any reference for a Christian outside of someone maybe that was Protestant. I didn't have a reference for a Christian, as in, for me, people in the US who are from the Bible Belt and Christians, to me, they weren't the same as someone who was like a Christian here who could be Protestant or something like that. For me, they were just not the same thing or whatever. In my own, that's just the way I categorize them. But the fact that QE, and I said it before, he exhibits Christ-like behavior. He may not have all the information about the Bible, but what's important to him is calling out the frauds and the liars, which is what I was taught Jesus did when I was younger. Right, in Catholicism, they taught us that Jesus called out the frauds and the liars and the money lenders and all this sort of thing, and he went into the temples and kicked over the false altars and whatever, all that kind of thing. That's kind of what they taught us.
Okay.
And for me, that's how I view QE, as opposed to just arguing with other people who are Christian and who say things like Danny Faulkner. Well, he also went in and attacked. Like he's consistently attacked the false pseudoscience people out there, hasn't he? You know what I mean? Is that not the nowadays? Is that not the nowadays temples, universities, and all these kind of places? He's consistently attacked.
Yes. I was just going to disagree with your comparison. Well, not disagree, but just put a slightly different spin on it, which is to say, I hope I get this phrase correctly, because I'm going to get it in the neck if I don't. You can be 100% Christ-like. Well, not 100% because you're not the Son of God, but you know what I mean? In terms of your behaviour, you could be Christ-like and actually not make it into heaven as a Christian. That is to say, you could do everything that is laid down in the Bible in terms of how you should behave. If you don't accept that Jesus died for your sins and accept him as your Lord and Saviour, you can be as Christ-like as you like and not
That's
necessarily
right.
meet the definition of being a Christian.
Yeah, I know. I don't have to see that. This is my point. Someone who would follow that and believe that, to me, is just not. To me, it's just not. It's just not on the same level as someone who's exhibiting Christ-like behavior. To me, it's just not. It's just to
You're
me
being
that's
mocked.
just,
I love it.
Someone who is
Brian's being mocked from the
who's-
chat. I've got to read this. I'm sorry to interrupt you just because it was so amusing when Christians mock people. Bible U says,
What?
10th man rising, so swearing and mopping is the ultimate Christian behaviour. We were so wrong, smiley face. And 10th man says, I'm shocked.
Yeah, but I excuse QE of his language. Come on, the guy spent his whole life in the military. Yeah, there's some things, but I agree with Brian as far as QE going in and turning over the tables of pseudoscience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point, Nathan, that someone who is just exhibiting Christ-like behavior, that via Christian belief, that doesn't mean that they're going to go and get into heaven. That's fine. I understand that discrepancy there. But for me, just as someone to reference, if I have to reference someone who, for me, wears that cape, I have to reference QE because he's done that. He spent so much time taking apart people who are claiming evolution and now claiming heliocentrism and globe. It's just, for me, he's pulling apart all the nonsense, and because they are the churches of today, are they
Yeah,
not? The
I
modern
agree.
churches.
One man's praise and adoration is another man's blasphemy, Brian.
Hold on, let me help Brian here. But Brian, just to bring it to something else, who showed the most compassion for Arwen when this was going on? Wasn't it QE that said just bring him back into the fold? Right? When we were all ready to crucify the guy? So, yeah, he displays a lot of Christian character to me. Regardless of his language and this, yeah.
Why are we discussing this?
Well, we're trying to.
Because Brian said he's Jesus.
I didn't say that. I said he exhibits Christ-like behavior.
Okay. Fine. Let's get back into this video. If it gets any more frustrating, we're going to go on round out. We'll see.
It makes you realize, wow, God still loves me.
Right.
Like he did all this.
It's all so intricate, even for how small and insignificant we are.
Right. And it's like, maybe we don't know anything.
Right.
Maybe we are the center of something and we don't know. It's like, okay, we're not, but maybe we're the center of multiple universes or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sounds like you've been watching a bit of Rick and Morty. Yeah, parallel universes and such. Yeah, straight out of evolution from fourth dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time into string theory and parallel universes. Yeah, multiple dimensions. Not without a flat plane to measure. I mean, it's fascinating and fun to reify these things into an actual existence where there could be multiple different dimensions and universes and probabilities of different existences of this dude, Jordan. It's just not real.
It feels like, and again, I'm not attacking anybody, but you're not here to defend yourself. But it sounds like a lot
Au contraire.
of people who are like pretty, feels more like I am perfectly okay not believing that I am that important in this world,
Right.
but knowing that God.
Well, that's pretty much jobs are good one for the heliocentric worldview then, isn't it? Because you aren't important in the heliocentric worldview. You're an insignificant speck of dust on a rock that's an insignificant speck of dust with gas not expanding into a violation of the second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum, with you moving around the sun and that moving around the grey attractor. I mean, that is, as far as you are concerned, you as an insignificant speck of dust. Okay. Now, I'm not going to fill you in on what I believe in terms of my worldview. We've discussed aspects of Christianity for long enough. Nevertheless, it's irrelevant, and a worldview based on a heliocentric motion and a scale that's been derived from flat Earth measurements. The scale's nonsense, by the way. The angle measurements to the stars don't change as you raise in elevation. There is no height to the stars. You can extrapolate out radial values and then put things into orbital motion and then scale them with Keplerian motion and then give values to certain stars like Venus to scale it with a value that you can also control the rubber ruler with things like light speed. Ultimately speaking, it's all extrapolations of flat Earth measurements to begin with. So none of it's true in terms of these distances and scales that make you feel like you're an insignificant speck of dust. They're simply not true. They're completely arbitrary. They're made up. You know, Christian Huygens suggesting that Venus should have the same radial value that's measured on a flat Earth is nothing more than his, quote, ingenious assumption, end quote. It's not anything. It's arbitrary. But the arbitrary ascribing of these distances has left you to say it's okay to feel like I'm an insignificant nothing. Well, I don't feel like I'm an insignificant nothing, I've got to be honest. I'm a proud father and husband. And I've got an audience who give me money to keep the mortgage paid and the lights on. Thank you very much, by the way. Hit the Ko-Fi link if you want to support this channel. But that does not make me feel insignificant. Quite the contrary. I feel like there's people around me that are very much dependent on me. And that is not me in my insignificance in a giant heliocentric speck of dust worldview. You can have your own beliefs, just as long as you're aware that they've come from flat Earth measurements to extrapolate out these vast distances to make you feel like nothing. Sad.
God still, that's like the point.
Right.
And that God still is involved in our lives. It's kind of like this lesson. But also, if you look at like, and I don't know what
So your squaring of that circle is to say that God has intentionally made you feel like an insignificant speck of dust so that you can still feel special about the fact that what God still loves you, even though you're not really relevant. It just seems like, again, you making it. I'd be sat on my cloud as God tutting at you. You're like, what? Oh, the beauty of the world just is around you, and you're going to tell me that I'm making you feel insignificant. No, men have done that to you.
I hate saying flat earthers. I feel like that's just like a weird, bad thing to say.
How many flat earthers do you think are watching?
There's a lot.
There's a lot?
Yes.
Over 100 watching right now. Well, I don't. There's 100 people watching my audience. In my audience, and I can't necessarily say they're all flat earthers. There's a good chunk in the Discord server now. There's at least a dozen in there, and there's half a dozen in my server. So there's a fair few watching you live right as we speak. Who'd have thunk it?
I don't know how to explain that to you, but there are way more than you think.
Okay.
I know it probably seems weird that I'm like you thought there was like none, and it's like these weird people on
There's at least 20. At least.
the internet. It's like, no, there's a lot.
Jordan, so what I've learned is that Jordan is not a flat earther, but he's afraid of offending the flat earth.
You're never going to offend me, mate. You know, you're going to spew your beliefs to me like I'm going to be offended by them. Then you'll spew your beliefs about what you think I believe. Again, I won't be offended. I'll just set you straight. No, it's not going to offend me. It might offend your ears to find out that your belief in a heliocentric world is based on measurements of an Earth that's flat. It is, and that might offend you. I don't care. You know, I'm not really standing on ceremony in this regard. I'm not going to walk on eggshells because I'm concerned about who I'll offend. You know, most people who view me, unlike yourself, and credit to you, want to attack me because I do offend their worldview, because I shatter their religious belief in a world that's spinning and spherical. It isn't, and I can prove that to them. That's why most people will mock and despise what we do.
Because I love the sentiment.
Just a sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. That shows how little he understands flat earthers. Because you can't be a flat earther for any length of time and have a thin skin. You can't. So to think that he would offend us, this random nobody who doesn't know anything about anything, he doesn't know anything about what he's talking about, he's just another idiot, as far as I'm concerned. Why would I be offended by him? I don't think he has the intellect to offend me. He won't be able to come up with something smart enough to give me offense.
Okay. I would agree.
Love being the one who questions
sure.
this stuff.
Sure,
I
sure.
love the attitude.
Sure.
I love the energy, but I feel like it's just misguided.
Yeah.
You feel us looking at how your heliocentric worldview came to pass by way of flat Earth measurements is misguided. On the contrary, Our advanced understanding of your heliocentric religion is what we dole out in droves daily. That's what we do. You know, whether or not it's going to offend someone's sensibilities is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You know, you can either cope with Earth being measured flat or you can't. I know from your point of view, it's whether or not we can cope with the world because we're all nuts or something. We'll find out shortly, I'm sure.
I would love to talk to somebody. Legitimately, I would love to. And I do know.
I'll talk to you. I'll come and talk on your channel. Yeah, my name's Nathan Oakley. Nathan Oakley 1980 at AOL.com. Drop me an email. I'll come and chat to you.
Well, he
No
should have
one?
known that
Is that-
if he'd done research on it, right? He should have known your channel.
He won't get fed my channel if he's just looking for this subject matter. He'll get fed for Simon Dan and Professor Dave Explains, won't he?
Yeah, Nathan is not going to come up on a search.
No, but that's why, you know.
Yeah, but if you're looking into something, you're going to do a deeper search. When Brian looks into something, I'm sure he just doesn't do a surface level search. He looks into things.
No.
Well, that guy's not Brian.
No. Let me just address that. That's for two reasons. Me, I'm slightly different because the way I was educated was slightly different to most people in terms of the necessity to do primary source research and dig further than the surface level puke that you get off Google. Well, Brian has trained himself to be that way as a consequence of finding out how much deception there is in the world and has found his way to the truth through primary source research. Now, most standard comprehensively educated people don't get privy to that and are quite literally taught to take the surface level puke and regurgitate it ad nausea. So Brian's standard and my standard and the people who hopefully watch this show and take it on board that no, you can't just read the headline. You certainly can't then realise that, oh, headline reading isn't good, so I better read the whole article. No, primary source research. Where did the article get its information from? Oh, from this source. Did the source see the event happen? Is it their first-hand testimony? If not, where did they get the information from? And so on and so forth.
I don't know, but a friend knows him, and he's like, "Dude, you should talk to this guy." And
All
I was like, "That'd be great."
right.
They live like an hour plus
All right.
away, so. But you know, if you also look at like the neutron and the
Oh, it's cool, man. I can connect you on this X-Men computer that you got going on. Yeah? I'll be on your screen, you'll be on my screen. I'll be telling you, yeah, your globe Earth belief came from flat Earth measurements. I mean, it might be a short show. Me telling you it's measured flat, and you going, no, it's globe-shaped. And I'm going, no, there's no measurements of that. All of them come from a flat Earth. They're angles to stars.
electrons going around, it's a solar system. It's a small
Right.
solar system. Like everything is that. So I'm curious.
No, that's come from flat Earth measurements. It's a heliocentric extrapolation through orbital motion from Kepler based on radial values that have been measured from a flat Earth. Celestial sphere is two hemispherical viewpoints, North Pole centric and South Pole centric, antipodal with a sphere of the heavens wrapped around based on your perspective view of those stars. To have a perspective view of those stars, to detail them in a manner that suggests sphericity of them, would require that they are running parallel to the flat plane we measure them from, because we're taking angles to them. 90 degrees to your position, that would be a star you can't see because it's obscured at the horizon. That is a flat Earth between you and the horizon. Zenith position, 90 degrees, perpendicular to that flat plane, is a star directly above your head, and everything in between would be measurements between 0 and 90 on a protractor. Well, 0 to 90 on a protractor is a curved line that you can then represent the angle measurements you've taken off those stars in a hemispheric description that can then, as I say, be added to the south version measured off a flat plane in the same exact manner, just without an absolute direction of south, to give you a South Pole centric flat map. Now, this in turn gives you something we describe as the celestial sphere, but it's only capable of being described mathematically that way because you've got a protractor over your position to measure the angles, and those angles are representative of a flat sky and a flat ground. They wouldn't be angles unless it was. That's how the mapping functions. That's how the longitude and latitude system have been developed with the Sun and Polaris. These are how these systems we have used to expand our known territory, flat, work. Now, if I was to sit in front of this guy, that's all I'd need to tell him, because that is the basis of the globe. You then extrapolate out outside edges of spheres with radial values at Polaris' minimum. You can also infer or claim that Al-Biruni measured heights of mountains off a flat Earth and derived the radial value with the differential between surface level and eye level, to give you an R to claim that you can put into Keplerian orbital motion also. Either way, you're starting with a flat plane. That's what's being measured. So Earth's flat in terms of how you start this process for a globe. This is advanced heliocentrism. You know, I'm not telling you Earth's flat, I'm telling you that's how your globe comes to fruition. If you want to decide that the flat Earth that's been measured to give you an inference of orbital motion and sphericity is something you still want to believe in, you can. Everyone's entitled to believe it. I'm not stopping you. And if you want to claim that you've still got a globe beneath your feet, I'll go, well, no, that's actually measured flat. Obviously, that wouldn't lead me to reify the ground beneath my feet to be spherical when I've just measured it flat. To claim it's spherical for you, that's absurd. Earth is flat. Another quick shout out to, bear with me, Vlad. Thank you for the super chat, Vlad. Let's just bring it up on screen. Beliefs and feelings with these guys, and obvious confusion and fear of FE truth. I don't think they know any flat Earth truth yet, Vlad. I honestly think that they have only been exposed to the likes of Simon Dan and Professor Dave Explains, and that's what you get when you do a search, isn't it? So that's why he's stuttering and stammering about what he thinks flat earthers believe. He hasn't seen any of them. He's just seen what Simon Dan's told him flat earthers believe. So he doesn't quite know how to phrase it. That's why he's got so many sentence fragments. Thank you for the super chat.
Is if flat Earth people believe that, because from my knowledge, it's like flat Earth is basically saying, if I can't personally do a scientific experiment on it, I will not believe it. Love the sentiment. You know what I mean?
He doesn't know what any of these things mean. You're in a category error. If flat earthers, I'll rephrase it the way he said it. If flat Earth says we need scientific experimentation, man, that's a lot to unpack. Number one, your stereotyping fallacy summarized as flat Earth would be a generalization for all flat Earthers. Earth being flat is a geometric measurement in terms of the representation of the ground that we utilize as surface level, sea level, angle measurements, reference planes, all these things that we actually measure. That's flat.
I mean?
Yeah.
But like, again, it just feels misguided to me. And I'll just go back to if we're gonna believe the unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just ask back onto belief. You've just told the audience if you want to only suggest that we can have scientific validity for geometry. No, that's a category error. Science deals in cause and effect reasoning, not measurements of flat planes. You know, your belief in spheres deals with flat Earth measurements and measurements of flat planes. That's not science. But then you want to suggest that we've got beliefs. If you understood what science was, you'd understand that it's empirically validated by experimentation. That's empirical. So if you're saying the standard that you understand flat earthers to lay down is it's got to be science, then you're saying flat earthers would suggest that they only want empirical evidence. Okay? I mean, it's unreasonable when you're in a category error, but nevertheless, it's kind of sentiment that you'd want to hear from somebody who's making a claim. I'll only accept empirical evidence for a measurement of something that's flat that isn't cause and effect reasoning. Nevertheless, now let's discuss how they've only got beliefs and what it is reasonable to believe in. Wasn't the standard empirical evidence a minute ago in your category error? Ugh, doesn't understand the words that are coming out of his own mouth, does he?
Yeah. He's not just stating that flat earthers, even though what he stated was incorrect. The way he stated the whole thing was incorrect. But basically what he said is flat earthers just won't accept any old nonsense. Right? Yeah, that's pretty true. We won't, right? Regardless of which flat earther we're talking about, they won't just accept any old nonsense as evidence of something. And, you know, outside of the evidence they don't understand, outside of that, once it's something they can understand, they won't just accept that it's evidence if it's not. So they won't just accept that Mars is X, Y, or Z and is a certain distance away based off of what would be not any evidence. So yeah, that's true.
Flat earthers will accept any old garbage. but they will reject what they now know to be distrue with globe Earth standards of evidence. In fact, like a lot of
Right.
anti-flat earthers, they'll reject almost anything that's claimed to be a globe Earth evidence, to our detriment currently. At the beginning of this live show, I pointed out that if you're going to claim eclipses as a standard of proof, then you're going to need a Keplerian extrapolation from flat Earth measurements. Ergo, your win, if you're going to claim it as a globe win, will be pointed out to be in origins of a flat Earth, and then taken to be my win. Ergo, when you decry a globe Earth win in that regard, you're actually ultimately decrying the origins of the flat Earth measurement they use to infer their sphericity you're bracing against. So it's weird, but when they win, if you're going to claim globe Earth win, it isn't a globe that's won, it's just a model that's been extrapolated out from the angle measurements to the stars. I don't reify it into the ground I'm actually standing on, but if you're going to say, as it was designed to be, it makes better predictions, then I'll agree. Doesn't mean we're standing on a spherical surface, because the measurements that are put into that calculation are flat. So their win is our win.
I think you need to listen to what I said again, because I put in a little caveat there that saved me. I said, except for the evidence that they don't understand. That's what I said. In other words, flat earthers are likely to go along with something when they think it's evidence when it's not. Or they're likely to push something away, not understanding that something they're being shown is evidence for, because they don't understand the evidence.
Fair enough,
So
I didn't hear that caveat.
tried
You're
to say
right.
myself.
But
no, it was a handy undercut.
my objection is that a lot of flat earthers have come to the subject through conspiratorial paths, and they're conspiratards. So that's what we're dealing with. And it may offend some of the audience who are like, yeah, I really like your information, but I am what I am. I came here through 9/11. Okay, well, good for you, but that isn't the vibe that we deal with here, and it's never been my vibe. I hated the fact that there was conspiracies all around me the moment I arrived. I happen to have been looking at psychopathy and subliminal messaging, which is used in advertising. It's a very real, in quotes, thing. But then you find yourself looking at the subject of flat Earth because of an autoplay on YouTube at the time when it wasn't censored. And the next thing you know, you've got people who are in the arena that you appreciate because you've understood the way the world has worked in an instant, because you've experienced plenty of it. Suddenly you're around people telling you that there's a Mandela effect and that there's reptilians and clone centres. You're like, oh my God, where am I? Who are these idiots who call themselves flat earthers? What's going on? I don't want to be around these people. And I've been around them for 10 years. Now, again, like I say, there's going to be plenty of people in the audience that are highly offended by that. It's just the way it is. You know, we find ourselves bracing against flat earthers because a lot of them are conspiratorial idiots and make us look stupid. There's no other way to... I can't sugarcoat that. It's the way it is. Can't stand on ceremony after 10 years. That's what we have in our community. That's why the stereotypes are there.
Yes, but what the guy said is still wrong. Not so much the way he said it was wrong, but what the guy said was, that's wrong. What the guy said still had relevance, because flat earthers won't just accept any old nonsense as proof for a globe or heliocentrism. They won't. Now, that extends out into other things as well that flat earthers don't understand and make fools of themselves. But they won't just accept any old nonsense. The evidence that he can be handed for what Mars is claimed to be is not going to be sufficient with your general flat earther. He's not going to just accept that, he or she.
Right.
Like, why not believe the one that, like, the Christians were, like, getting persecuted for back in the day to, like, stick their necks out and be like, look, I'm going against the system. None of this is right, guys.
Right.
All right? And they, like, go to jail and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If we
Hold
believed
on.
the
Is that
flat
even
earth from the
true?
start, like, we probably wouldn't have made a bunch of scientific discoveries.
What is generalisation about Christian imprisonment?
Yeah, is that even true? I heard that story that Galileo was locked up somewhere. How do we even validate that?
A lot of things are attributed to Galileo if you look into it. A load of stuff is attributed to him. And it really shouldn't be. I'll put it that way.
discoveries and
Right.
done all this stuff, because we would have just been with like the elites who were like, we're the center, and like they didn't want to break that dogma because it like
Right.
enriched them and made them powerful. It's like, no, it was
Right.
like the people who stood up to this.
Right.
So
Stood up to what? Your maps are all North Pole centric. We covered this earlier. You don't know what you don't know.
again, I love the sentiment, but I just it's
They would
lost
probably
on me.
say they're the ones being persecuted. They're the ones.
That's
that
right.
The establishment says no, the Earth is not flat. No.
Who's he talking about? Who's being persecuted? The maps are North Pole centric. That is the way we have expanded the known territory flat. This isn't contentious. I mean, maybe it's been brought into the flat Earth realm by way of feast and nonsense to make it contentious. I don't know. This Christian aspect is something I don't understand. Fair enough. Whatever.
Oh, it is, and you're persecuting me.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
of course.
But I see what you're saying too. I think that your
I just
explanation is more correct.
if you look at everything, if you look at how the whole war, I mean, we can make nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
Like that's ripping atoms apart. That's
Oh, it's the Sabine Hosselenfelder standard. We have mobile phones, therefore globe. We have lenses, therefore globe. We have nuclear fusion.
ripping a solar system apart and something happens.
Right.
Like something huge. So that has to be real. Doesn't it make sense that like the solar system
What
would
did he
like
say?
Saying there's twinkling lights in the sky. They must be real. Oh, he also mentioned the story that goes alongside them from heliocentrism about vast distances and huge explosions and second law of thermodynamics violation gas behaviour. But that must be
No,
true
what
because
he
we can
actually
see
did-
stuff in telescopes, I assume is his point.
Well, what they actually did, he started off with nuclear explosions, basically atomic bombs splitting the atom, this kind of stuff, and he went on to extrapolate that out as in heliocentrism, something similar happening to stars, blah blah blah. And his evidence for this was that we have supposedly atomic bombs, and that means globe. So that's actually what I did. So atomic bombs mean globe because what's happening in the sky is something he's never witnessed in the sky, that he's told is happening, is stars are doing things just like atomic bombs are doing them. That means it has to be a globe.
Brian, do you deny nuclear weapons?
You deny mobile
You
phones?
know, yeah, I mean, the fact that you have a mobile phone, Neil, is good enough evidence for most people that it's a globe.
I mean, I don't know, but it's like no, it's different. It's a different.
It's a strange hill to die on. I don't understand
It's
why
the-
people are so wedded to the idea.
Well, because it's the ultimate distrust in the government and in society. But
No, that's what you would have to accept because those are the standards you are now applying to it. You believe that you'd have to distrust the government, that there'd be this whole web of lies. Ah, right, those are your considerations. Now, I don't suggest in any way that you need to consider those things when I point out how Earth is measured. And when I point it out, I tend to use people's own beliefs in a globe to emphasise where Earth is measured flat for their belief in a globe. Does that in any way infer that you have to start disbelieving anybody about anything other than people around you who have taken inadvertently their misapprehension of the world in its representation based on measurement as being spherical? They would be the only people you'd need to worry about. I mean, currently, that's you versus me. I've got measurements on my side, so I don't really care. But I'm not really worried about who's lying to me. I know NASA are lying. There's no sky vacuum for them to be in. You know, but other than that, I'm not concerned about it. I'm not knocking on their door with pitchforks and torches, am I? I don't care. Just turn my back on them. They're liars. I don't need to involve myself with them anymore. They're liars. No interest to me. Proving themselves to be dishonest. So I don't listen to astronauts anymore. That's it. But you need to concern yourself about how much government are lying to you if you consider the nature of Earth to be flat. Nah, that's non sequitur. It's just your concerns that you have taken yourself to. Not mine.
Could I just point out that the smartphone debunks heliocentrism and globe, more or less, as the origins of that technology starts with quantum mechanics. Now, when I say quantum mechanics, I'm not talking about the attempted hijacking of it, the thing they call quantum field theory and all this other nonsense. That's not quantum mechanics. Because quantum mechanics debunked Einstein, and Einstein is the backbone of their whole present heliocentric paradigm. So one of them bringing up a smartphone, an iPhone, as some kind of globe proof, obviously have no idea what they're talking about. Because it's if quantum mechanics took Einstein apart, and they all know at the top level that it did, right? Which is why they're trying to come up with quantum gravity and quantum field theory and quantum everything, right? They're trying to add that in as many places as possible because they know that they're in serious trouble. As soon as people catch on that what Einstein put forth, that they all latched onto, the thing that superseded Newton, because what they were trying to turn Newton's postulations into wasn't working for them. They needed something else. Einstein came along, and he was debunked by quantum mechanics. That means they don't have a paradigm mathematically, if you understand what I mean. So that them saying, "Oh, smartphones, iPhones," that means it's the globe. No, that would mean the opposite.
It feels like to me, it's like, look, I get that. Like, I am that way.
That's how I feel too. I'm like,
But what they have to realize is the bad guys, they're out there, like the bad scientists out there who are controlling the narrative. They don't know. They're just making stuff up to make people out there feel like we're insignificant. Like, that.
Yeah.
We came from nothing out of the ground, and we were just like we just like came out of the ocean and stuff. I mean, it's like,
yeah, it's the first law of thermodynamics violation. You're spot on. Well, this is a bit of a turnaround,
dude. You know what I mean? I don't believe that.
Good. It's a first law of thermodynamics violation. I'm glad you don't.
But what I'm saying is they're hijacking the thought.
No, I don't think he's saying it in that way, Nathan. I think what he's trying to say is that that's how we view it. I don't think he's talking about himself. I could be wrong. I don't think he's referring to him there.
No, he's talking about himself.
Is he? All right.
I could be wrong. Hello, Adam.
Afternoon, guys. Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, Adam.
Thought that we're really insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but they're like taking it to like an extreme of like, no, like we weren't created. We weren't, and we all evolved from fish. And so we really mean nothing. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
So what I mean is like, you can believe that we're insignificant in the universe, but I actually don't believe that. I think we just don't know enough. I think that we're actually more significant than we can really even imagine in the whole grand scheme of the spiritual world and the grand scheme of like everything. But it feels like this, but...
Oh, well, in that case, let me introduce you to this wonderful concept called ether. There's plenty of numpties to give you a new belief if you want to jump out of the frying pan and into the fire. Just be careful.
But the bad guys are the ones who are like trying to hijack that thought and really make it be like, no, we're really insignificant.
Right.
Whereas the people who were originally making these discoveries were like, we're insignificant, but like this is crazy. Like God's so real.
We're insignificant because the universe is ordered. It's orderly.
Right.
And this is
What? Okay. The order of what? Entropic dispersion? I'm thinking no.
how it's orderly.
Right.
Versus we're insignificant and the universe is chaotic and there's no... We don't know how things...
They weren't such outmoded concepts of entropy. I'd critique him on this, but we'll move on.
You know what I mean? We don't know how this started. We don't know how it's going.
Right.
Even though we have evidence all around of an orderly system that controls everything.
I feel like I did a bad job of explaining this.
What would that be? Come again? Fill us in. What's that?
But this has just been bouncing around my mind for so long.
You
that
had a
I'm
lot
just
of thoughts to share.
You can believe.
You had one a minute ago. Some overriding control that gives us order. Didn't tell us what it was. I was fascinated for a second there, buddy.
believe what the system believes, but the system is trying to like hijack that to make you believe way too much that you're insignificant.
It's some reification fallacy. No, there is no system trying to hijack our reality. Yeah? Men have taken the notion of a flat earth, measured it, and then put into ideas of people's head that we're on a sphere with those measurements. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's the system that they should be talking about. The navigation system that give us a horizontal plane for navigation. Yeah, that's the one they should be talking about.
This was an appeal to people who believe in flat Earth.
Message me on Twitter or Instagram or something. I would love to talk to you. I'm dead serious. I really would. I would really appreciate
Jordan
it.
really wants this. He needs this.
Yeah, all I can find is like some YouTube videos. I don't want to. Don't send me YouTube videos. I want to talk to you like logically about it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more than willing to talk to you.
Okay, that would be great. All right, that was it. I don't know what I said.
Anytime someone has ever talked to me about flat Earth stuff, it was, please watch these videos.
Yes.
Anytime it was presented to me, that was how.
All right, well, this will come as a breath of fresh air when we tell you to look at the angle measurements to the stars with respect to a horizontal plane of reference for the origins of your globe belief. Yeah? So it's not go and watch a video, it's Earth's measured flat with these angles. If you want to go and look at something, go and study latitude. Then you'll know Earth's measured flat. That's it. There you go. Not pointing at you anything other than the measurements of Earth. Hope that's appreciated. And I do expect some of the live audience, so I'll do it one more time, to literally, as we're live as we speak, go to this videographer and let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. He will chat to you. Or whatever you want to say. The politest comment you can leave so it doesn't immediately get removed by the videographer. But we do want to, in that instance, actually point him in the direction of a video, as ironic as that may be. But yeah, the overall message that he'll get from me is that Earth is measured flat for your globe belief. I think that's it. They're rounding out. We'll just listen to a couple more seconds just to check they are.
Oh, it was presented to me. So.
Let's get to it. Gave me hope. I need it.
Very good. So, yeah, that videographer is called Blimey Cow, and it is Jordan a flat earther ? Open brackets. Let's talk. That's the name of the video. So, as I say, please let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link scrolling its way by in the YouTube live stream chat right now. Anybody have any extra comments they want to add?
How much you want to bet David Shea starts talking to him?
You bring up some random stuff. I bet you £5 he won't. Who cares? Why would you say that, Neil? How could I dig into this like it's relevant?
Because the people that you should be talking to somehow wind up on his lap.
I'm sure Dave goes out of his way to proactively contact these people, actually. I know Dave well enough to know that he's a very proactive businessman in terms of his approach of things. So it wouldn't at all surprise me if he's going out of his way, knocking on a lot of doors, and he's got the 1 in 10 rule going. So that is to say he's going to knock on 10 doors, and only one will open the door and let him in and let him chat to them. That's a lot of work. So while you think that somehow there's like some magic red carpet that unrolls for David Weiss, you've got no idea how much work he's probably having to put in to get these interviews.
I'm not suggesting magic at all.
No, Nathan's been completely naive there, Neil. What's actually happening is when people want to find out about the subject, who did they go to? They're not going to come to you. They're going to go to David Weiss because he's out there as the poster clown. And that's what's going to happen. He doesn't have to even go looking for these people. They can go looking for him because he's out there as Flat Earth Dave. You know what I mean?
When you say it flippantly, like he's out there, that just happened, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. He might have promoted himself years back, right? But now he's like, if you go asking Google, what's going to show up first? If I'm somebody with a podcast and I want to talk to someone about that topic, and I Google it, who's going, you know, or I go onto YouTube, whose stuff is going to show up first? His stuff, because that's and even if they find your stuff and his, it's going to be his. It's going to be him they want to talk to, because you know he's selling a dream.
If you say so. I don't know. I'd drive myself nuts if I was to focus on these things in this particular way. You can only kind of look at your own success and say, how well am I doing? As opposed to, look at that guy, he's doing well because I'm being deprived. You just go nuts. Anyway, if you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. That was an interesting video. Thanks for that, Mush. That was good.
Yeah, of course. That was a good review. There was already 4 comments left from the members telling them that you reviewed it. So let's see what happens. Let's see if he actually accepts that invite.
Yeah, I'll retitle the live stream so it doesn't say how satellites work on a flat Earth. It says whatever he's called, something cow. I've forgotten the name of him already.
Blimey cow.
What cow?
Blimey. Blimey.
Blimey cow. Okay.
I tell you, that David Weiss is a really great guy. I think he's really great, Neil. What do you think?
What?
Yeah, I know him very well. He's awesome. He even invited me on his boat.
Who did?
To discuss the scientific method.
I mean, really, he's a really good guy.
Are you still talking about David Weiss?
No, we're talking about how you're a simp for David Weiss.
A simp. So if I defend anybody, I'm a simp for them.
No. This is like Johnny yesterday saying, you're all saying you don't want me here, this kind of stuff. No one said that. Nice try, Oakley.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't want to have an idea about what we're talking about. You simp for Dave. Flat Earth Dave Weiss. You simp for David Weiss. That's it.
Yeah, just accept it. Move on. It's okay.
I accept it. Okay.
Well, those two guys that you just reviewed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mush.
No, my bad, Neil. I was going to say the guy that says space makes more sense than flat Earth after 10 years of flat Earth talk. That Dave Weiss?
Yeah, him.
Don't you attack Dave Weiss. How dare you?
Dave is very important in it.
Very important. I don't know where this is coming from.
Dave's a good guy. He puts a lot of work in. Good guy.
I don't know where this is coming from.
Just to get back to the video, if these guys were Christian, I don't know, because when I became Christian, talking the whole, accepted Jesus as my savior, I was looking for ways to reconcile the ball that we're living on. And I just couldn't, it just wasn't making sense to me. Now, to have these guys say that makes total sense to them and flat Earth not make any sense at all, I don't know. What Bible are they reading?
It's almost like they're saying the more unbelievable the stuff is, the the easier it is to believe it. Is what he's saying pretty much.
I used to think it was like, because when my brother first presented it to me, I'm like, well, you're making God small, because now it's not this God that has us living on a spinning water ball, but yet we're not falling off, and how everything is in perfect order, I used to think that if the Earth was positioned too much to the left, we'd fry, too much to the right, we'd freeze. So I thought of everything was the majesty of God, because I thought that's what it was. So when I found out it wasn't, I don't know, it was pretty shocking to me.
Hey, Arthur. Good to see you. I'd do an Indian accent and reply in his absence, but I'd only be accused of lazy racism.
That other.
He's in VC, but he's obviously
That
not
Dave's a
around.
good guy, Neil. I tell you, he's hard work for that fella. That Dave. I really like Dave's a
He
good guy.
works.
Oh, bloody
He
hell.
works his butt off to get the interviews he gets.
Yeah, he doesn't
He's
just
a
sit
proper-
down in the mornings. He's up
Yeah,
out of bed, that man. He's out there, and he's communicating.
He's a proper businessman.
Right, did you think this is some fray that you're pulling? Because it isn't.
Listen, right? We're just relaying back to you what we're hearing from you when we state some facts concerning your special buddy,
okay.
Dave.
So when I did it for Witsit, literally yesterday, and it's, even though I don't agree with any of Witsit's arguments, he's being rumpused, and the point he's putting across isn't being responded to because the end of it's being cut off. I sympathise and empathise with Witsit. That's me being by the same standard that you've just claimed when I defended Dave for him being proactive and actually going out there. He's out there, you say, Brian, but that's me simping for him. How's this turned into a fray that you're pulling? What's going on? I don't care.
Different. That's just the same. That's just you. That's just you calling it like it is in a debate. That's you're just saying. Excuse me. No, which has been rumpus. This is wrong. That's fine. I'd say that. No bother. It's your bias against anyone who says that bad about Dave, your special buddy.
Well, load of nonsense. It's the same principle saying I'm biased against anybody who says something against Witsit by that standard, and you just repeated the claim.
Like I mean, your support of Dave of Flat Earth Dave there at the end of the show. I mean that was medal worthy. Do you know what I mean? That man's out there. He's working hard. He's up out of bed in the morning. He's not laying in. He's out there on that phone, on that blower, contacting people. That's a hard working man. He's doing some good stuff.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Is this a cry for help?
The truth being, go on, huh?
Are you saying you don't get enough attention, and even the slightest hint of someone else getting attention is going to be pulled up and mocked? Is that what this is, really?
That is not what he just said. You're getting this wrong.
Look, I'm going to spin this. Whether you like it or not, it's getting spun.
You are talking about how great he is when you should be talking about how great you are, and never mind that Dave guy.
Dave is great, though, isn't he? Let's be honest.
I can't believe we used to kid around and call him the boss.
Yeah, Ed takes one knife between the shoulders.
Now you're talking. See, you're still feeling that pain. Nice.
No, not in the slightest. That's my point. Now, I don't tend to hold too many grudges. I just tend to turn my back on people. Yeah? Sometimes you're forced for ulterior motives to reappeal to certain people, but that's because I can bite my pride when there's a greater good involved. But in terms of your personal relationship with people, you gave that up for the reasons that I don't care about anymore. Because I'm not interested anymore.
I don't know that. That was like jargon. I mean, they one ear and out the other.
If you say so.
So when is Anthony Riley coming back?
Why are you asking about Anthony Riley? Phoned me yesterday.
That's why I'm asking you. I figured you had a conversation. When's he coming back?
How did you know I had a conversation with him?
I was there for the whole thing when Adam told you.
What? Told me what?
that Riley was trying to call you.
Yeah, but you didn't know he actually called, did you? You just assuming he did, right?
Well, you left. I figured you left to go speak to him. So I want to find out if he's coming back to the show.
No, I
or
left.
was it the same
No,
as before?
no, I just left the call, and at the end of the call, Anthony Riley was being discussed. But I didn't know I was going to get a call from him. I was told by Adam that he'd been trying to call me, and I'm like, I looked at my messages and I'd had no calls from him. Anyway, the point is he did call yesterday by coincidence. It just seemed odd that you'd know that was the case when, only I know he's called, right? Why are you snooping on me?
Is there any word from Huey?
I actually thought you left for the phone call.
No, I'm not telepathic. I didn't know he was going to call.
Did anybody hear from QE? Is he all right?
No.
I haven't heard.
Nothing?
Yeah, Anthony's fine. He's just been doing his due, which is exactly what I said.
Can I just, I have something presented here. Can I just go through something here in a moment?
Yeah. Dave Weiss is ace, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'll just go through it as I have it presented, right? This is how the globe deals with dip correction, right? Because they can't. Is the height of oil, right? The height is 30, let's say, whatever, 35 feet, whatever, right? This green one here. Here is the sea level down there, right? What they do is they give a mathematical horizontal distance, which is this blue line, right, which is their tangent underneath the boat, to where the horizon is going to be. And they determine that based off of where the horizon would be, right, for a 35 foot off the surface person, where the horizon would be on their globe, right? So what they do is they add 7/6 to their globe, right? But they still don't address the curve part, because the 7/6 is still going to have a curve, but it's going to stretch out the horizon a bit, right? Because you're dealing with a bigger globe, right, with their effective radius, then you're going to have a further away horizon from 35 feet. But they don't have any curve on this blue line because that's a tangent. So their tangent, right, becomes that from underneath the boat goes to an horizon that would match a distance of a 7/6 globe. But they take the curve away because they're dealing with a tangent, right? Now, in reality, the actual horizon for an observer, 1 second, I just want to get a segment here. The actual horizon, right, could be out here, right? Double the distance, right? But why are they not addressing that horizon? Because within their paradigm, right, within their paradigm, they must address a distance to an horizon that matches 7/6. That's what they must do. Even if the actual horizon they're looking at is out here, and they must make sure that this dip here is close. The dip they have here is close to this amount of dip here is close to what this dip is this black line here to here. This is what they must do, right? Now, on a flat plane, it makes absolutely no difference how far away the horizon is, because the height of I, which is this green line here, I'm just going to make it thicker, right? This height of I line here, that's all that matters. So it doesn't matter if the horizon in reality is here, 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 back here, or out here, or further on. It makes no difference, because the correction is this. But when they're addressing it, they're using a tangent that will stretch from underneath the boat, which is here, out to a distance that will fit a 7/6 globe, but without any curvature. And ignore this out here, and that's how they start getting around. They don't get around it, but that's how they try to add globe mass into the dip correction. But this line here, the serrated blue line, excuse me, this is always a horizontal tangent. I know horizontal doesn't exist on a globe, but they've got to claim horizontal because we're dealing with horizontal, right? But it's always straight. It's never curved like their globe surface or their 7/6 or effective radius surface would be. Well, it would still be the globe surface, it would just be less curved than this, but it would still be curved. So this arc length here is 14, right? Let's just say this straight line tangent is 15 in length, right? Because this arc length with 7/6 r added to it will give it a length of 15, but they can't use the arc part of it because there's no arc between the boat and the horizon. So they've got to claim it's a tangent that stretches out to this point, but even if the horizon is out to here. So mathematically, they're placing the horizon here, right, adding in 7/6 r distance to the horizon without any of the curvature and ignoring that is out there. And why? Because why are they doing that? Because they don't want to just address that all you're dealing with is this. That's what you're dealing with. Just a correction, right? That's all you're doing. You're correcting, right? Making the horizontal. That's what you're doing. And they don't want to address that you're just making a horizontal and correcting to the surface because it makes no difference for this point here, whether the horizon is here, 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 anywhere, right? This dip, this amount of dip, right, will always be the same. It will always be that much because it's measured as the height of Y. So what they try to do is add in mathematically some globe mass while not adding in any curvature and try and claim that somehow this is reality. That's what they do, just so in case anyone didn't know. This is what they're actually doing. Because in reality, we're just doing a height of Y correction. But they try and add in, and people might have heard me say this before many times, but they may not have understood what I meant, is that a horizontal horizon distance. So when they're using the you see the ball is trying to present flat earthers an equation that it's 0.097. That is a mathematical horizontal distance to a 7/6 or horizon. It is not. There is no, and it's along a tangent. There is no curvature. So this is what they do, right? Because they have to add in some kind of globe mass into this situation because the situation has no globe in it. It's the very thing that kills the globe. Because once this is down to here, right, let's just say as an example, then you're dealing with one massive horizontal. Or if this was to come up to there, I can't bring it up there, so it's locked as it is. Or if you bring this point here up to here, we'll just give me a point. I'll bring this cross here up to this point, H, right? It's the same thing. The correction is the same. You're either going to be using sea level or an absolute parallel with sea level, which is going to be horizontal lines. So that's what they do. So when the ballers try and present maths to you for the dip correction, and they try and present people 0.097, that 0.097 is just a straight line distance between this point and their 7/6 r distance. There is no curvature here. And they're not even, and this horizon is not the one that's been observed at all. The one that's been observed is out here. If you take globe out of it, there's absolutely no reason for this one here at all. Because it makes no difference, because all you're doing is that. That's what you're doing. Just let it throw that out there.
Correcting too fast.
I can't see. Sorry.
Very good. Thank you, Brian.
One deck was trying to say something there.
Yeah, I can't see your diagrams, Ryan, but I know what you're talking about. But yeah, it just beats me, the whole process of that acquiring an elevation angle and the corrections thereafter are all just to get to your true altitude. Yeah, that's what you establish at the end after the dip, after the refraction, after the index errors. You'll achieve a true altitude, yeah, which is from sea level. Because all altitude elevations profiles are from sea level, and that's all you're trying to do. And sea level is level.
Well,
I mean, simple as that.
I personally, I'm just going off of probabilities because I've personally had the 0.097 shoved in my face many times by the borders, and I know what it was. I knew what it was when I saw it. I knew what they were doing. But a lot of flat earthers may not know why there's a 0.097 in the dip correction, often involved in the dip correction in today's world. It wasn't there a long time back in the 1700s. It's there now. Why is it there now? Because they're trying to add in a horizontal distance along their tangent that will match that will match an arc length distance of a 7/6 globe based off of this observer height. This is what they're trying to do. Yet their tangent obviously can't be an arc because a tangent is a straight line. So this is just the nonsense that they're at all the time, because dip correction is the thing that they cannot deal with. It's over. Dip correction just ends it. There's no coming back. Look, once you correct, either go down or once the eye line comes up, the H here, it's all the same. This distance between, it's going to be this, between this actual horizon and H, right? That distance is exactly the same. I'm just going to make it green, just like the other one, and that is exactly the same as this other one over here. The distance from sea level, from the horizon, which would be sea level, is up to the oil, from underneath the boat to up to the oil line, is exactly the same as the distance here from the horizon up to this H, which is in a direct straight horizontal with the oil line. Do you know what I mean? So the only way they can get, in any way, try to get around any of this is, well, not they can't get around it, but what they do is they'll try and add in 0.097, and then claim it's an arc length. It's not. They're adding it in as a tangent plane length. 0.097 is just a use of a distance. It doesn't have to be a curved distance or a straight line distance. But in this, in general terms, but in this scenario, it must be a straight line distance because it's a tangent. Do you know what I mean? It must be a straight line distance because they have to have it as a straight line distance. Not only are they using a tangent, but the dip correction shows that this between here and here is exactly the same as between here and here. So there's no way around it. But just so people know that if you're presented with 0.097 by the borders, ask them to prove that that's an arc length distance and not a horizontal distance. And if they say it is an arc length distance, say so you're claiming that a tangent plane is an arc. They won't know what you're talking about at that stage. But you're better off keeping them in confusion.
None of that's even in the almanac. I mean, when you look at that, the dip correction column, it's not none of that. It's just the height above the the sea level.
The only reason I'm saying this, I have seen one particular dip correction page from one almanac, and it did have a 0.097. I have it on my other computer, and the broken one. The 0.097 was in it, but it was used as a horizontal distance, the 0.097. Whereas Ruvik will take the 0.097 and try and make it into an arc length, completely defeating the whole purpose of the tangent. Do you know what I mean? But just so people know, because I have seen it, but it is used, if you look at it mathematically, it's used as a horizontal distance, not as an arc length distance. But most of the dip correction pages don't have that in it, or if it's in it, it's way down at the bottom. It's not. The point is it's not to do with dip correction. It's a globe add-on. That's all it is. That has no relevance really. It's just to help them mathematically somewhat push their globe into the situation, while making sure there is no absolutely zero arc or curve. Do you know what I mean? Because they have to. So it's just it's a little bit of an extra or an intricacy of the dip correction in today's world. I don't present.
Thanks, Brian.
No worries, it'll come back up again, Nathan. I guarantee you.
Oh, I
And you'll
did
remember
for a
it.
second.
Working well though. I was listening to some anti-flat earthers on the politics server in the week, and they're they were sort of talking between themselves, saying sick of this elevation angle. You know, the Oakley. There was the Oakley fucking flat Earth is
I'm
measured flat.
sure they are.
elevation
Don't
angle.
swear.
Yeah, but then they was saying we've got to. Well, why are you sick of it? Well, it's been going on too long now. You know, we've got to. There must be something else. I'm going to think of something else to bring up because I'm just fucking sick of this argument now. It's been going on too long. So it's obviously getting to them.
One deck.
Don't want to talk about.
Of
Yeah, man.
course it's getting to them, and we're not going to stop.
Exactly. It was like the other day, wasn't it? Last week on, I think one of them was saying to Nathan, "Can I change the subject? Please, can I
Yeah.
change the subject?" Yeah, I don't want to
That's what I
talk about
said.
this
What?
because it's destroying me. Yeah, let's talk about the moon or something, please, Nathan.
It's too painful. Change the subject, please.
I said it then and I'll say it now. You'd think they'd want to know more. We're exposing the origins of their claim, where the Earth is actually measured. You'd think they'd want to know more about that.
Yeah, you'd think. Nope.
Well, they can't offer any evidence of measuring Earth curvature, as in drop over distance, because everything they do offer as evidence is relating to an elevation angle measurement using a horizontal level baseline. They can't present anything that offers a curvature measurement. Must be frustrating when you're trying to prove the
Yes.
globe, but you're offering flat Earth measurements instead. I mean, it must be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it must be
I'd want to
devastating.
change. Yeah, I'd want to change the subject.
How do you think it will go tomorrow then? You think some of those will be there?
Yeah,
I
Dogs
think
of
there's going
Gods
to be
was one
more
of
of
them.
them there lining up for you.
Think so?
Yeah, I love it. And it was great the other week when you was in there. You just it was like one next. Just like you can't handle it. He was, I mean, he was on form. He was on top form. I mean, you must have shellacked about fucking 7 of them, fucking straight.
One deck, stop swearing. What's wrong with you, lad?
Sorry. Okay.
It'd be okay not to hear Brenda or Jekyll. That'd be okay.
Oh my gosh, bro, you just took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say Nathan needs to pull a quicker switch, man. When Brenda starts talking right away before I start getting irritated, just I'm not talking to Brenda and some of these other trolls too. You took the words right out of my mouth, bro. They're just not worth it, man.
Just repeat offenders.
Yep. They're just not worth it, man. They're like, yeah, I was gonna say retarded. I don't want to call anybody retarded, but they're literally retarded, man. Brenda has nothing, dude. I don't know how can any person embarrass themselves every single time they speak and still come back every week. It's just beyond me,
she
dude.
said, you never measured the Earth, Nathan. You never measured the Earth.
Brenda just very calmly lies. That's all Brenda does. Just a continual lie. Like Brenda doesn't care about. Yeah, that's the difference between Brenda and us. We care about what's true and factual. Brenda doesn't care about what's true and factual. She only cares about causing Nathan a problem. That's all she cares about.
It's just a disruption, isn't it? You know.
Nathan said, just remove her. Remove her. It comes in out of nowhere. You never measured the Earth.
Also, Brian, while I got you right now, bro, like I asked something before when the Nathan was doing his intro, and I guess you didn't hear me, bro. I just want to clarify this once and for all. As far as the airplane mode on my phone, I was under the comprehension that when I put my phone on an airplane mode, I'm completely disconnected with transmitting or receiving any signal from anything. Am I right or wrong about that? Are you saying that I'm still
No, you're
being
still going to be receiving stuff. You're just probably not going to be getting your general Wi-Fi. When you put your phone on the airplane mode,
right?
you're still going to be getting. You can still get GPS signals, but those GPS signals would be differential GPS or assisted GPS, because that's what your phone gets. It's assisted GPS. So you may not have Wi-Fi and stuff like that, but you'll get assisted GPS.
Gotcha,
Now
gotcha.
that might be
Because the
blocked
way
out on a plane, but sorry.
the way I understood it, like for example, the app that I'm using, the way I understood it, it's a digital app that's already topography, and the information and data is already the data of a topography is already in that app. So the way I understood it is when I'm moving about, going over that surface, that my phone is just recording and collecting that data that's already there. That's why I understood it that I can use the airplane mode and I don't have to be connected with anything, because that's the way I understand it. The digital data is
Well,
already, the topography is already in the app, and as my sensor that's in the phone is going over the area, my phone is just collecting the data. That's the way I understood it. But what you're telling me is that I'm only, when I put my plane on the airplane mode, I'm only disconnected from sending and receiving a signal, but I'm still connected somehow to these, whatever's tracking my signal, GPS, to these towers, right? Is that what you're saying?
well, it may or may not be. It depends. Your phone might be just behaving via the app as an inertial navigation system. So it might be working like that, as you said, that the maps already involved in it. So it might just be
Right.
using itself as an inertial navigation system. So the accelerometer is in the phone, are recording what direction you're going. You know what I
Right.
mean? And they might be slow, but you can still, once you turn off when you're on airplane mode, you can still you will still be able to get GPS on airplane mode. You just won't be able to use
Right.
Wi-Fi and other things like that.
Yeah, that's
And
obvious.
but now it
That's
could be,
obvious
as I
because I'm
said, it could
already
just be
using it like
purely
that.
what?
No, sorry, bro. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it could be just behaving as an inertial navigation system like they have on planes. It could be behaving like that using the accelerometers in the phone or whatever. But I don't see why on airplane mode you're still not going to be getting assist. You might be getting differential GPS as opposed to assisted GPS. But as far as I know, all smartphones get assisted GPS, whereas an airplane will get differential GPS. The airplane itself. They might be able to get assisted GPS too. I'm not sure, but I can't remember to tell the truth. But as I said, it could be both. It could be that it's working as an inertial navigation system using the maps, but it's also getting information if it needs it. I don't know. I'd have to look at the app and how it's set up. To be honest with you.
Okay, because the only other reason why I was believing that, thinking that, is because one time I was going from New York to Pennsylvania, and I was going through the area that was nothing but farms. It wasn't marked as regular roads, right? Where bicyclists were going through, right? It was kind of a shortcut, right? And there was no data for that area. So my phone literally didn't record like 30 or so miles because there was no data from that area, and started collecting the data once I got out of the area, once I got on the real road. You get what I'm telling you?
Yeah, well, then it's picking up assisted GPS.
Yeah,
Then.
so that's why I was thinking
Yeah.
the data's already in the phone on my app, right? And as I'm going with my phone, with my sensor that's in the phone over that area, my phone is just collecting and storing the data. That's how I understand it.
Yeah, but just let me ask you: when you got to this area where there wasn't data for it, when you had your phone on airplane mode, did you have any data to work off of?
No data at all. I even have the ride saved. It's like from many years ago, but I have it. It's on the app that saves my data. So, like I
But
said,
you
I was
had the
going through these
maps.
fields. What was that?
You had the maps, though. The maps were there.
Yeah, it has the of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, it has the
yeah.
map.
So
Elevation is
I'd say,
already there.
yeah, but I'd say it's operating in both ways. I mean, there's definitely, well, I'd say that's what it's doing. It's operating as an inertial navigation system when it needs to, and it's also operating, like the maps are there. So it's just recording you moving along a road or moving along a track or whatever, or if you're in a plane or whatever. It's just recording you doing that. So it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
so
the
it is
maps
like
are
that.
already there, you know.
So that's the way it is, right? That's how it works. That's the way I understood it.
Well, I'd say
That's the only
it's
way.
using both. It's probably using an inertial navigation system. I'm just using assisted GPS as it needs to or when it can. Because phones do not get GPS. Do not get GPS from anywhere but land based. From what they say, from the official claims, from anything that's not land based, like cell towers or somewhere like that, they don't get a GPS. According to officially, I don't know if it's true or not, but they don't get GPS from anything in the sky. You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
If you look into assisted and differential GPS, it'll answer basically most people's questions to do with GPS on phones, because it basically, you know, assisted in differential GPS is just pointing out. All they're saying is, well, you're getting help from ground stations, and the ground stations is giving. Sorry, what's saying about the sneeze? Sorry, the ground stations are assisting. So the GPS is coming from their satellites to the ground stations. The ground stations in assisted GPS are then giving it to your phone, right? Or if you're in an airplane, the ground stations is getting the information from satellites, and it's going from the ground stations then up to the airplane. Do you know what I mean? So they're adding in a part that you don't know if it's really happening. That's basically it.
Right.
But as I said, I don't know exactly what's happening with your app.
Okay.
But
Fair
I
enough.
mean, it's probably just a mixture of both, I'd say.
Yeah, fair enough. Because I was also reading on this website of this app that they, like, if there's no data on a certain road and the person, an athlete or whatever, who has a Garmin, you know, the Garmin gadgets that measure elevation and all that, if somebody goes through that area with the actual Garmin gadget that measures the elevation and the distance, that data is going to be used for people who go over that area later on. You know what I mean? Like somehow
Yeah.
they take
That's an
data.
INS.
What's
Yeah,
that?
that's inertial navigation. That's what they call an inertial navigation system.
Okay.
That's a recording via the accelerometer, a recording of the route.
Right.
So if an airplane loses radar and GPS and all the rest of it, it still has the inertial navigation system, where that route has already been recorded, pre-recorded by the inertial navigation system. So it doesn't matter if it loses all communications, the airplane will still get to the airport because the inertial navigation system will direct it because it knows the route. That's so if somebody else, so the first person that ran that route, let's just say when it wasn't and it was recorded, that then is that recorded information is then given to everyone who has the app. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thanks so much for your time, Brian, for clarifying this.
No,
Hope I didn't
I
waste
don't
too
know if
much
I
of your
helped you
time.
much because basically I already told you what you kind of already knew. So.
Yep.
But
Either way, bro.
you
Thanks
told
for
me
your time.
something I didn't know. I didn't realize that phones were using inertial navigation. That's good to know.
Well, it's an app. It's an app. It's like for athletes, for cycling and running. It's called Strava. It's free. Like I've been telling people this for years, bro. Like to explain to them high elevation profile, like what it is and how reference is a horizontal plane of reference. And again, I've been called conspiracy theorist by my fellow cyclists who don't even want to talk to me anymore, just simply for pointing this out. But that's a whole other story for another day.
Yeah, you're just pointing out to them that it's using basically a horizontal plane with elevations above and below that horizontal plane.
Yep.
You know, that's
And you
what
can
it's
even
doing.
see it, dude. Like
So wait, they
every
don't want to
ride.
be your friend anymore?
Not, dude, like people literally don't talk to me because I'm a flat earther, bro. Because they know now. But I wasn't even talking
Wow.
about flat earth or anything. I just show these people like what their own elevation profile on their own app that they're using shows. It shows the horizontal line from, you can go hundreds of miles. Doesn't matter how long your ride is. Every foot of elevation is shown up or down in reference to horizontal. That's on the bottom. It's called
That's
elevation
exactly
Right.
profile.
what. Go on, Neil. I'll go
Yeah,
after you.
Brian. No, I'll go after you because I'm going to change it to something QE said. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, but that's exactly what Google Earth does with its elevation profiles. It
Yep.
shows you the horizontal baseline all the way,
Mhm.
but it uses the transverse Mercator projection. So at any point it needs to, it can convert any coordinates to a globe coordinate, even if you're not at a globe coordinate. Even if your coordinates is technically not that coordinate, they'll tell you that's your coordinate. Do you know what I mean? So they're basically, at that point, they're hiding the true nature of the latitude and longitude grid. But that's how they do it. They know they need a flat plane. They know they have the reference of, they can't have you can't show elevations from a center point of a globe. They know they can't do this. They know no one will accept it. It's ridiculous. So what they do is they are using the horizontal plane, the XY plane, and they're using the Z above and below, plus and minus Z above and below that XY plane. But at any point they need to, they'll keep on giving you your globe coordinates. So if you're in Australia, you're getting coordinates that aren't correct. You'll have a longitude in Australia that isn't correct because that longitude line is not even possibly going through Australia. It might be off to the west or the east or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But they'll tell you that you're at a longitude that is technically, that longitude is technically out in the ocean. And that's how they do it. But they still will give you a flat plane. Why will they do that? Because that is what we experience. So if they give someone a curved elevation profile, right, no one's going to be okay with that. It's like with Jin when he had those children in his classroom, and he's asked them to draw the sun over the horizon, and he drew one as well, and his one was curved, and they were like, no, the horizon's not curved, because it's like an innate knowing within you that we're not on a globe. You know we're not on a globe. Kids know it. Everyone knows it. But that's why Google do not give you a curved elevation profile with distances from the center of a globe, because it doesn't feel right. Because it's wrong.
I have a
Sorry,
question.
It would be impossible to. Go ahead, George.
It's a question that maybe you could ask your mates of cycling. How do you cycle on a sphere that has 2 inches per mile square of depression? How do you cycle? You go uphill, downhill? How you do it on a sphere?
George, these conversations ended when I showed them the elevation profile, dude. It was just the eyes opened, kind of blank look, and that was it.
I've got a question as well. What source could I look at? What site or anything could I look at to find where we take these, 90-degree, these flat measurements, and then turn them into a ball, and then back to a paper towel roll, and then flat again? I'm looking to get as into it as I can, so I'm just wondering about the source.
Well, all the sources will show you is starting with a globe. This is the problem. They'll all start with a globe, and then they'll flatten out that globe via a cylinder map. But the actual latitude and longitude grid, if the only way that's represented correctly is via UTC time, where people and countries and cities are placed within their correct local time. And that's why Newcastle, north of Sydney, and Perth, Western Australia, are only 2 hours correct local time apart. Yet it's the same exact distance between Charleston, South Carolina, and Long Beach, Southern California. The same distance between Newcastle and Perth is more or less exactly the same, a little bit in it, between those two and Charleston and Long Beach. But yet there's 3 hours of correct local time. between Charleston and Long Beach. And the reason is because when it comes to using time, correct local time, which is a breakdown of the 24, which is where we get the 24 hours, because there's a 24-hour solar day, but because the sun is not always in the position you need it to be in, if you go by solar time, your noon will be all over the place. So to keep noon even, they use just a breakdown of a 15 degrees per hour, 15 degrees per hour breakdown over 360 degrees gives you 24 hours. The only way that Australia can have 2 hours of correct local time between Newcastle and Perth, and America have 3 hours of correct local time between Charleston and Long Beach, right, when both of them are on corresponding latitudes, north and south of the equator, is if the Earth is flat. The latitude and longitude grid has to continually, like all the longitude lines, have to come out from the north and continue divergent from the north. They don't go back in. Whereas if you go looking for where to get cylinder maps from, they'll show you the latitude and longitude grid on a globe, right, where all the south ends of the longitude lines are meeting at the bottom of the globe, and then they'll turn that into a cylinder. And they'll use that map as a flat map. But when they want to convert it to globe, they convert it straight back because all those points on that map are all based on a latitude and longitude grid on a globe. Whereas that grid is measured with elevation angles. That's where it came from. Flat out elevation angles to Polaris. And then you have to give you latitudes, and you break that up into a 24 hours to give you longitudes. And that is a continual divergence from a north central point. So if you're looking for that, you have to start with time zones, and that will give you the proof of that, and then correct local times. And you have to be careful because there's a lot of nonsense added in, political times, and you have times that have been changed because of Ramadan, and you have times that have been changed for what you call it, daylight savings. There's even Spain changed their time. Franco changed the time away from London time, because Spain is actually in London time, which is 0 UTC, and went with German time back in World War II. But they never changed back. So Spain is put into the same time zone as Germany, even though their correct time zone is actually London time. So you have to start with time zones, and that shows you what the latitude, what city is where on the latitude and longitude grid. And you can see that that means that the grid has to diverge all the way out. And then all they did was took the south ends of all those longitude lines, made them meet at the bottom, like they meet in the north, right? Called it a south pole, right? And then just took the radius of that and claimed they had a radius. The radius of that circle. It's a 21,600 nautical mile circle. He just took the radius of that and then converted it to statute miles, and came up with 3959, which is actually 3958 and some change, but they rounded it off at 3959 and tell you that they have a radius.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because even though Portugal is closer to the Atlantic than Spain, Portugal has the same time zone as England. It shouldn't. If Spain has 1 hour more, Portugal should be the same, and it's not. One of the two is wrong.
Yeah,
I think you got to a point. I think you got to a good point in that, it seems to be that that's a pretty good starting point for what I'm trying to figure out to do, and that would be disproving the official narrative of time zones. So thank you. Yeah.
If you go to my channel, Brian's Logic on YouTube, and go to the community section, you will see that I have up there in the community section, I think it's the last thing I posted, a time zone map. And I'm adding in all these different times, within these time zones, the cities that sit within them. As best as I could find out, the cities that sit within. So I don't have every city in the world, but I have as many major cities as possible. And you'll see and you can then look at a map and go, look at something like the Gleason's map and go, how can that be there? How can that be at correct local time when according to the map, it's over here? Or you know what I mean? So, which is wrong? It's the map the map, the underlying map underneath the latitude and longitude grid on the Gleason's projection, for instance, is wrong. But the projection of the latitude and longitude grid is correct. So start with that, and that will help you. It's very simple. What they did is very, very simple. But it's just afterwards they made it all so complicated, and they made it so difficult, over time, for people to even conceive that they could be wrong. That they got away with it, basically.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Did you find out where to look? Because that was what you actually asked.
Always.
I got an idea. I think I have a better idea. I don't have a citation or anything to go off of, but I'll figure it out from here if I have to.
Well, if you go to my channel, the first place to go to, and I'm not trying to promote me here, I've given the thing that you probably would need to start with. Go to my channel, Brian's Logic, on YouTube. If someone will post it there for you in Discord, if you don't know it, and you don't have to subscribe, none of that rubbish. Just go to my community section, and you will see the time zone map, and you will see I have another map before that, but that's just like it's not correct. It's not 100% correct or anything. But the time zone map is showing basically where a lot of these major cities actually are what's their latitude and longitude positions more actually are more so than what we're told. It's a bit. It's going to be a bit more work, but it's a good starting point to give you some visual of what's going on.
I posted that in the chat, a Gleason's map from 1893 with the time zones. It might be helpful.
Yeah, because according to what I heard, Witsit and Jaron Campanella speaking on this, and according to them, I don't know if this is true or not, but according to them, Gleason was a flat earther, but they wouldn't give him the patent if he made his projection purely a flat earth projection. So that's why he supposedly has a globe projection, which is with a stretched out Australia and a stretched out South America and a stretched out South Africa, where he has a globe projection underneath the latitude and longitude grid, whereas he supposedly wanted to have the continents and countries correct in their sizes. Now, I don't know how true that is because I haven't checked it out, but Richard was talking about it at length on a show that him and I was one of the things where him and Jaron Campanella were there, and there was somebody there who was trying to debate them. I was a while back, a few months ago. But supposedly the Gleason was a flat earther, but they wouldn't give him the patent for his calculator if he didn't put the globe projection on it. So that's pretty interesting.
It does make sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, this particular Gleason's map is North Pole centric, and he has the clock arms, one for the moon, one for the sun, and the circle of motion in the sky.
Cool. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.